Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new, please check out the links located in the description box and the comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links that lead to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020, as well as links. Hold on, y'all. Let me turn off the low power mode, or the screen will keep shutting off. About that, guys. But yeah, you'll find links, an identical set of links in the description box and comment section that lead to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020. At this point, it's been 4 years of targeting, just about. And also links that lead to videos that talk about tactics utilized on targets, technology utilized on targets, and just info about the targeted individual program in general. I don't feel like making this video, y'all. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm tired. I worked last night. They've been humming on me like constantly hearing the hum at work for like the last 3 months. I've been documenting it. I have videos dating back to about 3 months ago where I was talking about hearing this consistent humming sound and my symptoms aligning with those of a victim of Havana syndrome, which is something that's commonly used on targeted individuals. So I can't concretely prove that's what's happening. I can prove to y'all the technology exists, which I did in prior videos. Can prove to y'all I'm targeted, which I have done in several videos. I've documented my targeting, but I can't concretely prove that they're hitting me with this Havana syndrome because it's an intangible form of torture and harassment, which most of these tactics are. They're intangible forms of torture. So it's not something you can concretely prove. And that's why the program's so effective. It's psychological warfare, but it's also physical warfare, right? But anyways, something's going on. And so it's been making me feel lethargic. It's burning my stomach, my throat, trouble swallowing. It's just a nightmare, y'all. It's just constantly one thing or the next with this targeting, but that's just how it works when you're targeted. You just deal with things constantly, and if you're not a soldier, you're not somebody that has the strength or the wherewithal to fight. I mean fight, y'all. Like, I'm talking about you're fighting for your life with this thing. If you don't have the strength to do it, you will not survive. I'm telling you. This thing is really a harsh program. And it's really should be used on the worst of criminals, right? But they're using it on everyday American civilians and people that they just find annoying. Like maybe you said something offensive or you pissed off the wrong person. That's typically the people you find in this program, not the people that are really committing heinous crimes. Like you don't find those type of people, not to say type of people, like I'm judging people, because I keep coming on here and doing that and it making more enemies for myself. I'm not judging anybody that has a criminal past or a criminal record. Everyone makes mistakes, and if you turned your life around, then you're just the same level as me. We bleed the same. I'm not judging anybody, but I'm talking about those people that are constantly back to back to back getting in trouble, because there are a lot of them out there that aren't getting targeted, like keep getting in trouble, keep robbing people or whatever they're doing, like killing people, whatever, that aren't getting in trouble, selling drugs and keep consistently doing it. They're not getting targeted. You don't find those type of people in this program often. It's typically people like me that said something that pissed off the wrong person or whatever it is. That's who you see getting targeted. And it's like the harshest of punishment. It's so crazy. Anyway, so I'm not meaning to go off on a tangent, y'all. I'm just vent mode because it's like, consistent. I've been dealing with this for 4 years now. And since 2022, it's been amped up. Like it's been so terrible since I thought it couldn't get worse. When I tried to leave Island in my head, I couldn't fathom the thing could get worse. I came back and the thing is like a million times worse than prior to me leaving Island. I can't believe how bad it got. To the point where I'm microchipped and they're hearing my thoughts and all this crazy shit. It's so invasive and terrible, y'all. It's like hell on earth, literally. Anyways, I want to continue though what this video is about, because it's not about that. I just said that because as soon as I started making the video, I started hearing something. I don't know if it's the hum. My ear, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not like my ear is vibrating or, feeling that popping sensation like what happens when they're using it on me. But I am hearing some sort of grinding sound in the background and my stomach is burning a little bit. So I don't know if it's been burning since work last night when they were actively using the hum on me. I was hearing it, but my ears were popping so bad at work last night. Right now, that's not happening. It's just that my stomach's upset. So that's why I mentioned it. It's just another thing added on to everything else that's happening. But anyways, so let me talk about what's going on, y'all. It's something with work. I'm trying to be careful because it's like a catch-22 in a way where it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If I don't talk about this and I don't stand up for myself and I don't advocate for myself, then just about anything can happen. That's typically how it is with targets, because you have no say. You don't really have true rights like a real American citizen. You are a citizen, but you're as good as someone with no rights because you have so many people against you. And I'm not necessarily targeting out, not to use that word, I'm not targeting out any specific person. I'm just talking about in general. I'm just speaking in general. As a target, you have a lot of people against you, like typically a lot of people, and typically more and more people pile on because you have these egregious reactions to what's happening to you, and you piss off more people, and it's that easy to recruit them. That's why I keep saying it's like a satanic program, because they do things to harass you and, covertly psychologically malign you. You have these egregious reactions, which is expected. That's how the thing is designed. And then those reactions make more people tack onto the hate train. And so it makes your targeting worse. And pretty soon you're in this little corner between a rock and a hard place. And you're at the freaking beck and call and the whim of those around you. And all these, unfair type of things can happen to you. And you can't really advocate for yourself because nobody cares. It's just like, okay, well, that's the target. She pissed me off. She said something I don't like. So, haha, good for her. They're sitting behind wherever they're at, the people that don't like you, watching like it's a movie, eating popcorn likely, and laughing about what's going on with you because likely you said something that pissed them off out of anger because of what was happening to you. So all these heinous things can happen. They can see that it's unjust, but they don't care. They're actually likely celebrating, some of them, even though it's unfair what's happening. And you have no rights either. It's actually a major infringement of the Constitution. It's unconstitutional, this program. You don't have any rights. You don't have any due process. You're not even told that you're targeted. You just start noticing heinous things happening and weird, crazy things. You try to talk to the people around you. You get gaslit. You get told you're schizophrenic or whatever it is. And that's just how the thing works. Unless, you get out by some miracle, and people do get out. I don't know what the formula is. I've been trying to figure it out. I've seen other targets that got out. And then I see other targets who are talking about they've been going on the 20th year of targeting. I will never be that target. I will quicker swim across the ocean and drown than stay here and deal with this targeting for a whole lifetime because I sent a text message. That's ludicrous to me. I don't really know what it is. I don't know how people get out. I'm confused. I don't know. It's like this puzzle, and they send you hints with the shadow networking, hints that don't make sense, and then you do what the hint says, and then it didn't do anything for you. Like, let's say they hint to you that you need to apologize, and then you do a big apology video even though you've been apologizing, and then it's still happening. Like, it's just this freaking vortex of nothingness that makes no sense. Unjustified torture that makes no sense. Anyway, so I'm not meaning to vent, y'all. I'm just like, you have to understand, I'm so through. Like, I'm so frustrated with dealing with this thing. Again, this is year 4, right? And it's amped up within the last 2 years. So it's been really bad. I'm at a very low state. I'm making the least amount of money I've made in years. I don't have a vehicle. I'm bumming it around island trying to survive. I have a whole degree. I worked my ass off. I graduated magna cum laude. I have a good resume, and I'm scrubbing it around trying to survive. I'm frustrated. Anyways, so let me talk about what's going on with work, y'all, because I just had to let that off before I get to talking about this thing. It's just so frustrating. It's so irritating. So anyways, so at work, y'all, I told you I started doing night security. I started working for the same company. I've worked for them 3 times now. I told y'all prior to leaving Island, I was working for them part-time. I was doing the night shift. I worked 4 nights for them, and I was teaching during the daytime. I resigned from both of those jobs, relocated off Island, thought I could leave what was going on here. This is what I thought. I didn't know I was a target at the time. Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry. I just ate something. I remember I told y'all my stomach's a little bit, whatever. So I just thought I could leave. I thought it was just like I had pissed off, the people in my close circle and people around me, I guess, with the text message or whatever. And I was just receiving some sort of retribution for sending the text. Because I even tried to apologize before leaving Island. Before ever making a video, I have tried to apologize several times and have conversations about what started happening because of the text. And I was met with what felt like, I don't want to say the word gaslighting, but that's what it feels like. I just wasn't, nobody would acknowledge what was taking place, or even the text message for that matter. They'd be like, what text? What text are you talking about? What text? I'm just like, can we address this so I can go back to a normal life? It's like, it wasn't stopping. I'm like, okay, 1 year goes by, it's still happening. I'm like, okay, it's going to get better. 2 years go by, I'm realizing there's cameras in my apartment. I'm like, no, man, this thing is going far. Cameras in the apartment, I'm butt naked in the bathroom and people are revving by. I'm like, okay, no, they didn't took this thing too far. I'm like, let me just get my shit, right? Resign, relocate. I have a good resume. I have a degree. I can go just about anywhere is what I was thinking and start over. This is what I thought. Stupidly. I didn't know I was, not stupidly. Nobody really, you're never taught about this. Growing up, the things that you're taught is stay out of trouble, stay in school, be a good girl, right? These are the things you're taught. You're not taught that if you by accident say the wrong thing to the wrong person, there's some covert secret government program where everybody is going to be against you and watching you butt naked and following you, and there's no rhythm or rhyme to the crazy shit. You're not taught this growing up. Nobody teaches you about this. I never heard about this. I don't understand how the thing is so apparently widespread. There are so many targets. I don't understand how I'm only now just learning about this thing within these last 4 years because of my targeting. I don't understand how I've never come across this thing before prior to what's happening to me. I don't understand. But as many people as they typically get involved with the targeting, what was happening to me in the States, how many people were getting involved, and some of the other targets I've seen that are heavily targeted as well, there are a lot of people that are privy to this thing. So how the hell did I never hear about it until I got thrown in? You don't get warned about this. You don't see this shit on TV. You don't know about it until you're thrown in or you become a gang stalker. That's when you learn about it. And so you got to count your lucky stars if you're on the end of gang stalker or viewer. Not gang stalker. I wouldn't ever want to be a gang stalker, but viewer. Where you're somebody seeing what's happening, like, oh shit, that exists out there. Okay, let me be careful so that doesn't end up being me. You know, you are lucky. For me, it was like, I didn't know. I didn't know that simply sending a text could do this. Like, I didn't know. I would have been so, I'm telling you, I would have been so careful. I didn't know. So anyways, because I keep going off on tangent. I'm just in vent mode, y'all. I'm tired of every minute is something, man. I'm tired. Anyway, so what happened there? I was telling you, okay, so this company, I've worked for them 3 times. That's what I was telling you. So the first time was prior to leaving Island. I was working for them part-time. I worked 4 nights out of the week for them. You know, I had a nice location where they had me scheduled. You know, it was this nice secluded, like farm-like area that was gated, and it was only me on post. I didn't have a co-worker on post with me. It was just me and my vehicle. I had a vehicle back then. And it was right next to the school that I taught at. So in the morning, I could literally just get dressed for work and slide on over to the school. It was so dope when I worked for them prior to leaving Island. Resigned, obviously, because I thought I could leave and start over. I didn't know that this thing was like some sort of thing. Actually, I didn't know it was a program. I didn't know it was something that would attach itself to me and follow me. Or else I would have moved so different. I would have never resigned from my teaching job. I would have never like quickly made the rash decisions that I made, not understanding how. I can't really explain it. If you have a good position and you're a target, hold on to it. That's all I'm saying. Because once you let go of that position, likely your targeting is going to get worse and amp up. That's just how it works. And likely you're not going to understand how this thing works, and you might have some stupid reactions. And by the time you figure it out, it's too late. You've had the reactions you've had. And so that was the case with me. It was just like this, oh, okay, well, I could just quit and start over somewhere else. It's whatever. I didn't know the thing would attach itself to me. I didn't know the thing would be worse or get worse. I didn't know it would be worse in the mainland. Now that I understand how it works and that it's an actual program that derives from the mainland. Duh, dummy. Why would you go there? I didn't know. So I went there. I went to the States, whatever, relocated off the island. And the thing followed me. I'm not telling the story again, y'all. I'm not going to do this again. I have a bad habit. Y'all, there's probably about 10 videos where I done told my story in it now. Bits and pieces of the whole thing. Anyway, I tried to relocate. Obviously, the thing amped up. If you've kept up with my videos, you know what I'm talking about. Watch my story. Don't start here or you'll be lost. Amped up. I came back to Island. I came back to Island in 2022. November of 2022, I came back on Island. And at that point, my targeting was much worse. It amped up. I had way more enemies. I'd said a lot of offensive stuff. I probably had a whole race of people, several, against me now because of some of the stupid shit I shared in my car in Florida. It was just much worse. You know, people think I mistreat homeless people because of the stupid reaction I had on the bus with not just the homeless man. It was also with the man that was sitting to the left of me. But they honed in on the homeless man. And again, the reaction wasn't physical. It was, but it wasn't physical like me assaulting anyone or even saying anything disrespectful. It was passive aggression. Because I realized the targeting had followed me, This was a good while into my Greyhound ride, by the way, y'all. When I went up to the States, I was en route to Indiana. I saved up 4,000. I planned things out. I had a job lined up for me. I had a trucking school that had provided lodging and everything. I had scouted it out. I saw that they paid really good money, right? And I was like, okay, I can get into that and I can do that for maybe a year or two, save up a lot of money, and then get back into my career. This is what I was thinking. I was thinking that type of mindset. And I was even looking into getting an LLC because I was seeing a lot of people were getting into trucking. And if they had a big business mindset, they were saving up enough money to purchase their own trucks, become owner operators, purchasing an LLC, and then owning their own trucking company. So they don't have to drive anymore. You hire a dispatcher, you're an owner operator, you own your truck. You can drive if you choose to, or you can hire drivers. But these are the things I was looking into because the trucking industry is a booming industry. So I was like, I can do just about anything. And I'm like, this trucking thing looks good. I can make a lot of money. I can travel from state to state. I love driving. I'm like, I can do that and start over, is what I thought. Had a whole school lined up. I would talk to somebody in Indiana, everything. Had the thing lined up. I found a cheap apartment. Saved up $4,000. Did not know the thing would follow me. Hopped on a Greyhound bus from Florida. I looked at the tickets from Florida to Indiana and they were expensive. Like 2,000 and change. I'm like, okay, that's half of my money. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to spend half of my money and then go up there and I'm, like a fish out of water. So I was like, let me look into a cheaper option. And I was like, why don't I catch the Greyhound? I remembered catching Greyhound in my early 20s. We used to catch Greyhound when I was in school in my early 20s in Tallahassee. We used to catch the Greyhound for Thanksgiving or Christmas, whatever. If we didn't go home, we would catch the Greyhound bus up to my aunt or my uncle in Georgia. We did that a few times. So I'm like, okay, well, why don't I catch the Greyhound bus? That's a cheap option. I told people in my close circle about it. I'm not gonna lie. One of the people did warn me. She was like, "You sure you want to catch the Greyhound?" She was like, that's rough. A rough form of transportation to be traveling so far in. She was telling me all these scary stories about the Greyhound. But I said, "Don't you remember we used to catch Greyhound when we were in our early 20s?" She said, "Yeah, but that was a shorter distance." She was explaining to me that catching the Greyhound from Florida all the way up to Indiana was likely a bad idea. I don't think it would have been that bad had I not been targeted. It really wasn't that bad of an experience. There were a lot of homeless people on the bus. I don't care. I don't have an issue with homeless people. Shit, we ride and we bleed in the same. We're going to the same place. You and me, we breathe the same air. I don't care. I didn't care about them sitting on the bus. We both looking for a cheap deal, right? So we could get where we're going. That's it. I don't care about that. So this is why I hopped on the Greyhound bus. And I wasn't having an issue with anybody on the bus until I got to Tennessee. So I rode on several buses, and when I got to Tennessee, and I was in the Tennessee Greyhound station, that was when I realized that the thing followed me. I told you all about this. My story never changes. A heavy-set Rasta man, when I was sitting on my suitcase, I had just eaten a burger. I nodded off for a couple minutes. I caught myself, and this heavy-set Rasta guy with this weird sweater on walks by me with the bird chirping sound I had been hearing on island prior to leaving. I didn't know I was a target. I didn't know about the insect drones or the bird drones or all of the technology that they use on targets. I didn't know about that stuff before I left, right? So for me, I just remembered that, wait a minute, I know one of the things that was happening before I left island was that I was hearing these weird bird sounds. I did recognize they were using some sort of weird bird call on me. But again, just thought it was some sort of stupid retribution and them just kind of taking things too far and using some sort of bird sound. I didn't even know it was a drone. I thought they had some sort of bird sound playing from the radio or whatever that they were using on me just to be spiteful and to kind of like tease me, bully me, whatever. I did not know that this was a universal technological device that they use on targeted individuals. That understanding didn't come until I got back to island and I did research and learned I was a target. So anyways, I just heard the bird chirping sound with this heavy-set Rasta guy as he walked by, and he looks at me and he cuts his eye at me. It's the way he looked at me. I keep giving the same description because it's like branded into my brain. I can't forget. He looked at me like a predator. Like how, not like sexual, like he was looking at me like I want to hit on her type of thing. Not the way a man looks at a woman when he's interested. No, it was the kind of look that maybe a lion would give to a gazelle right before he pounces and eats it. That was the kind of look he gave me, like sinister. Or ominous. That's how I would describe the look. He looked at me like that under his eyes and did a little smirk thing, and I started hearing the bird chirping sound. I don't know what it was coming from. He had a backpack on. I don't know if he had a phone playing the sound. I don't know if he had a bird drone in his backpack. That's likely what it was because it sounded just like how these bird drones sound, that generic bird sound. And he walked by me and I was like, oh shit, this thing followed me. It was in that moment I realized it followed me. So then when I got back on the bus, we came off, right, to switch to another bus, the connecting bus that was heading up to Indiana. When I got on the bus this time, I was cautious now. I was alert. I was looking around. I was paranoid. I was anxious because I realized the thing followed me. And I remembered before leaving Island that things had gotten so bad. There were cameras in my apartment. Somehow they had my car bugged. I didn't know how they were doing it. I didn't know about the insect drones. What I did know was somehow they had a camera following me. I didn't know how they were doing it. I didn't understand. Like I said, that understanding didn't come until I got back to Island. So now I'm anxious and I'm paranoid. I'm like, damn, this thing followed me. I'm now looking around. I'm now acting paranoid. So I sit down right on the bus and I sit next to the guy that was sitting to the left of me. And I noticed before I even sat by him, he looked at me and he gave me this kind of look. And then he scooted over in his seat, right? He mushed himself over into his seat. So that made my hecklers go up more. I'm like, okay, whoa, what's going on? Right? So I sat down by him and I'm sitting stiff in my chair and I'm feeling weird. And then to the right of me, in the seats to the right of me, was a homeless man with no shoes on. And he was just like, kept looking at me under his eyes. He wasn't looking at me in a sinister way. It was nothing like that roster. It was nothing like that. It was more so just like he was observing me. He just kept looking at me. And so I said, this shit followed me. I said, I still feel like everybody was involved. Everybody was an op at that point. Everybody was an op. So I took my Lysol and I started acting like a bitch. I started acting like I didn't want them to touch me. I'm squeezing in the seat. I'm spraying my legs. I'm just acting like everything's disgusting. The homeless guy starts coughing every minute. Mind you, every bus I was on, everyone was coughing. There were a lot of people coughing on those buses, and I didn't think it was COVID either. It sounded more like a COPD type cough. Like, maybe somebody that smokes, and I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way. I'm just saying a lot of the people on the bus were smoking. When we would stop and take breaks, a lot of them were taking smoke breaks. So that's why I made the comment I made. I wasn't trying to make an ignorant comment or offend people. I literally saw a lot of the people on the bus, every time we would stop, taking a smoke break. They said, I need to smoke. And they would come off, and a lot of them were smoking. So I put two and two together that a lot of them were coughing from smoking, probably from chronic smoking. So this is why I made the comment that I made later that went viral. I'm kind of telling the story again, y'all. I'm not meaning to do this. But nonetheless, I started spraying myself and acting scornful. And remember, this was 2020, 2022. So this was when COVID had kind of the ban, or the, what do you call it? The quarantine had kind of just lifted. So things weren't as strict, but COVID was still actively happening. It's still actively happening now. I heard they have like some new outbreak happening in the States right now as we speak. But in 2022, it was still like a thing. They had just lifted quarantine. So it might seem like I was being scornful, like I thought everyone had COVID and, I'm spraying and being the scornful bitch. But I wasn't doing that the whole ride. Why am I doing it now? I had the Lysol the whole ride. The only thing I was doing was when I got on the bus, I would spray my seat and then I would sit down. That's the only thing I did. And then the Lysol was going in my bag. I wasn't sitting there actively spraying myself and acting like everyone's disgusting and acting like a uppity bitch. I wasn't doing that. An uppity bitch, excuse me. But in this moment, I'm feeling like everyone's involved and I'm overthinking things, and I'm feeling like I'm seeing them doing passive aggressive things to me. So I start spraying my legs and spraying, and every time he coughs, I'm looking at him like this and I'm spraying myself. I'm just acting like a bitch, like a real bitch. I wasn't acting like that the whole ride. That made the targeting, that was the first thing that made the targeting go viral. I'm not going to go into the details because I realize what I'm doing. I'm telling the story again. But just understand, when I tried to relocate, several things took place that made my targeting blow up. It was like a chain reaction. Several things took place and I started reacting to things blowing up, and the more I reacted, the more it blew up. Let's just put it like that. And I came back to Island, my targeting completely changed, much worse, way more locked in. Like it's just crazy how everything worked out just perfectly to screw me, which is why I thought something spiritual was at play. And then that made something more worse happen for me too, because then it's like, oh, she's bearing false witness about that too. And I'm like, but this seems like the stuff my grandma used to tell me about. Like, it seems so much like what she used to tell me about with people. The story she used to tell us about people in Trinidad who people did that to, and how all these crazy things would happen to them that they couldn't explain, and they hold in their head and they can't figure it out. Like, it feels like that. Anyway, and it's just crazy. It's just like these weird, unexplainable things that's just getting worse and worse. I'm like, I'm not really doing anything but responding to what's happening. Anyway, y'all, I'm still trying to figure the shit out. So I came back to Island and my targeting got worse, man. The thing was way worse. And I'm way more locked in now. Obviously, I can't get the same kind of jobs I was getting before. It's just way more difficult. I'm sensitized to a lot of things took place in Florida. PTSD trauma, them using shadow networking on me. I didn't learn about that until I came back. They were using the shadow networking technology to push heinous, weird, creepy narratives at me. I had gang stalkers on top of me like crazy in Florida. I just came back a different person, man. Traumatized, PTSD, my targeting was worse. Just a nightmare when I got back. So anyways, I got back and, obviously trying to get employment. It seemed like at first everything was blocked up, like completely blocked up. At least things are a little open now. It's not like before it was just like completely locked down, like you are not getting a job, girl. Like that's how it was when I got back to Island. And then like I started eventually saying like, nah, I got to tell my story. This is some crazy shit. I need to sit here and I need to tell my story. Look, they have a drone, a bee drone or by my window. It moved now. Anyway, it's like, this is too crazy. I'm like, I got to sit here and tell my story. This is wild. It's like somebody has to hear my story. This is crazy. And so I sat there and I told my story and I sat there and I made videos and I made videos and I made videos and it was so freaking therapeutic getting stuff off my chest. But also too, then I think that my story got heard because even though people don't like me, I think it did help. I think making my videos did help. So anyways, I made my videos and I eventually started working for that security company that I was working for before I left Island. That security company, they hired me on at the beginning of last year, right? Started working for them. At the time, things were very rough for me. My physical health wasn't good, right? Around this time, I suspect they were hitting me with radiation. This is not a meritless claim, right? That's one of the things that happens to many targets. Not all, but most targets have some sort of encounter with radiation during their targeting. How bad it is will depend on how bad you're targeted. Because I've seen some targets really getting fried. Like this one lady was in the hospital, black circles around her eyes, talking about her organs are shutting down. And then I've had other ones like me that kind of had an encounter with it and then they stopped or, so I think it just depends on your targeting, your location. I think all of those play a part in what takes place with that. But anyways, it was happening to me, I suspect, because I had the black circles like I've seen other targets have, which is a symptom of radiation poisoning. They were hinting to me subliminally via the shadow networking AI software. You know how they send you videos with subliminal messaging to tell you stuff or to sensitize you to stuff. They were sending that in my recommended on YouTube, things about radiation poisoning and microwave and cooking and this and that, like really hardcore sending that to me while I'm feeling the burning sensation in my back and in my chest and I'm getting skinnier and I'm having the dark circles around my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, are they killing me? I'm like, are they really going to kill me for sending a text message? I'm like, they're going to kill me for sending a text? Because this was the type of stuff they were sending me with the shadow networking. They were sending me stuff alluding to like death and time running out and cooking and, just really scary, creepy stuff that was freaking me out. I was like, wait a minute. So they're going to off me because I sent a text message and I said some offensive things because the thing followed me. I'm like, I'm going to get the death row for this? This is what it felt like. I was like, no way. I'm like, I'm going to fight to the last. And that's when I really started going ham in my videos and talking about what was going on and how far the thing had gone. And now it feels like I'm whatever. And, just talking about it and they stopped. Thank the Most High, they stopped. And so I started gaining my weight back and the black circles went away. And, who knows what that did to my body. I'm praying that I don't have any long lasting effects later on down the line because that took place to me last year. I really pray that doesn't happen. But I've been working out and trying to eat healthier. I haven't even been eating as healthy as I should be. Really, I need to be eating like an alkaline diet for real. I haven't been eating as healthy as I should be, but I've been trying. But I've been working out actively. It's not just about the aesthetic. I talked about not last video. It was in the sharing the 3 new poems and the info about grounding video. I was talking about, how it's partially about the aesthetic, the working out, but it's also about my health. It's about healing my cells. Because I know some stuff happened to me last year. It's about constantly still things happening. I don't know what the Havana syndrome, was really doing to me. I mean, I don't think it's nowhere near as bad as the radiation. I'm sure it's not. But it's having some sort of effect on my body. So actively, I'm trying to detox and take care of my body. It's about internal health too, not just the aesthetic. And then also too mentally, it's always helped me. I have always liked working. It helps me mentally. So anyways, so I got past that, y'all. But I started working for the company last year when I hadn't gotten past that. When they first hired me on last year, the beginning of last year, the radiation thing I suspect was happening again. Remember, they were hinting it to me and I was having the symptoms. So I was really skinny, man. I was bone skinny. The uniform was hanging off of me. I had the dark circles around my eyes. I was just a hot mess. And I was going to work. I was working the night shift. I felt too embarrassed to work during the daytime. So I was working, still kind of that way now, so I was working the night shift, and as soon as I got on shift, I would fall asleep. Like, it wasn't even like now where I've actually been trying to stay up. It was literally just as soon as I get to work, I put my head on the desk and I'm sleeping throughout the night. Like, I didn't care. It's like I couldn't even care. I just felt so mentally drained, and physically I was sick. Anyway, so eventually, obviously, I got suspended. Not for that, surprisingly enough. What happened is I had a misunderstanding with the secretary about the schedule. I'm not going to go into details about it. I talked about it in one of my prior videos. But there was a misunderstanding that I don't think I would have been fired for had I been having a good performance. But I think that misunderstanding, in addition to the fact that, like, every damn near night, basically, you could say, there were nights where I stayed up. It's not like every night I was sleeping. But there were many nights where, like, for majority of the shift, I would just, like, KO, knock out, because I wasn't feeling well. Anyway, so they ended up suspending me. And so for, you could say, almost the whole of last year, I wasn't working. I could not get a job. Like, I was trying to work from home is what I was trying to do, because I do have a lot of skills, technical skills. I type fast, I'm tech savvy, etc., etc. I've worked at call centers before. I was applying to all these jobs and they were hitting back right away because of my resume. And then, of course, these people were reaching out to them, whoever runs the program, reaching out to them, and then it would turn into this weird thing where I wouldn't get the job. It'd either be they do this interview and then weird stuff happening during the interview, or the interview gets canceled. All of a sudden, I can't, for some reason, the phone call isn't happening. The meeting keeps getting rescheduled. They sent an email I never got. Like, this is the type of stuff that was taking place. So I couldn't even work from home, do an online job, because everything was blocked up. I even tried to create a Fiverr. I went on Fiverr and I created a writing business. And I put together some stuff, right? I was trying to, do like a writing business, and I was saying I would even make like marketing emails for people and stuff like that. I was trying to get into, I guess you could say, like, email development, and I was teaching myself how to code. That got blocked up. They started messing with my Fiverr. They started taking down my ads and started, messing with the stuff, man, messing with everything. And so I'm like, damn, I can't get a job. I was like, this is crazy. I'm trying to get a job here, trying to get a job. I'm like, I can't get a freaking job. This is crazy. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I'm just sitting there home, and, the radiation at that point had stopped, but my body was still feeling like depleted from it. I hadn't started working out again yet. And I was just laying in bed, feeling myself just wasting away. And I said, nah, this is not going to be my life. I'm not going to let this happen to me because I sent a text message. I said, screw that. And so I started working out again, like how I've done in the past. That was what led to me working out again. I said, I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to do something. I'm not going to lay here in bed all day and rotting away. And so I got up and I started working out actively throughout the day, like all day long, letting my day be consumed with working out. I started working out and working out and working out and working out. And then around that time, it was like that positive energy just spread to other parts of my life. And then I heard from the company, the security company, and I was able to get the job with them. And so this is where I started working for them again at the end of last year. And I was doing really good. I was like, okay, there's no way I'm going to have myself in a predicament like last year where a whole year goes by with me not working, because I saw how bad it felt to be broke like that. I'm like, I don't want to be broke like that again. I said, I'm going to make sure I stay up. I said, I'm not going to be doing what I was doing at the beginning of last year. And at this point, too, my health was a lot better. I had gotten my weight back. I'd been working out much better than what was happening at the beginning of last year. They were humming on me actively when I first started working at the end of last year. They were using the Havana syndrome. I was having sleep apnea. I was having trouble sleeping during the day. I was having swallowing issues. But it wasn't anything like what was happening at the beginning of last year, where I was physically sick and skinny and rings around my eyes and all this other stuff that was happening. So I was like, I'm going to stay up. I don't care what the hell is going on with the swallowing. I don't care about sleeping. Sleep who? Sleep where? I was up, right? I was staying up and I was staying up and I was staying up. Excuse me. And then a couple months in, I would say a few months into me working, I want to say like at the beginning of this year, right? So after about 3 or 4 months of me working for them, I started getting complacent and I started getting comfortable, and I started realizing, okay, it's okay if I have a nod off moment. I've done security before. Like I told you, I worked for this company twice before. Let's not count the time beginning of last year where I had the horrible performance, but in the past, I've worked for security in the States before. So I'm aware of the fact that sometimes guards nod off. If you're one of those guards that sleep throughout the night, then you're going to lose your job. There's a difference between having a moment where you nodded off by accident and you're just being sloppy and sleeping the whole shift. Similar to what was happening to me at the beginning of last year. But this is not what I was allowing to happen to myself. It was more so just like, okay, well, sometimes people nod off. I know that to be the case. I know other people that work security that talk about the same thing. As long as I'm not sleeping throughout the night, it's okay if I nod off sometimes. Because every time it started happening, right? And what it is I think I started going to the gym, and that's what started making things get harder for me. Remember I told you I started working out in the gym at the beginning of this year. So like around January I started working out in the gym. Hardcore. Before it was like an everyday thing. And I've now toned it down to Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I don't go every day anymore, like what I was doing at first. So I think that's partially what it is too that makes me more tired. But it's just also too just complacency, man. I got comfortable. I'm like, okay, well, other people nod off. It happens, you know. It's like I don't have to like be on guard and, you know, like feel bad about if I have a nod off moment. It's okay. And so I started getting more comfortable with that, and I have moments where I'm not off, and I can't afford to have those moments. I'm targeted. I'm being watched on camera by all these different people. I'm also disliked by many. It's like it's not like a regular situation where I'm working security and I can have a leisure moment where, okay, I nodded off, that's all right. Like, no, I'm being watched on camera, and anybody could at any moment snap a picture of me, or they don't need to snap a picture. I'm on camera, you know, so it's just like stupid. And that's what it was, really. I just started getting complacent for a couple months there. It's not like I was sleeping like the beginning of last year. Definitely not. Still every hour hitting my tours. They see me, they're watching me. I have alarms set for every hour I walk my tours, but still nodding off. That's the point. I have moments where I nodded off. It would always happen like around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's where it gets really hard for me. So I started doing this thing where I was drinking caffeine, I was drinking Red Bulls every minute, and it was keeping me up, but then it started making my heart feel weird. You know, and I already, like I said, have other things going on. I can't afford to be putting just about anything in my body. And so when I noticed that started happening, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to duke it out and figure out. Like, I'm gonna have to try to sleep more during the daytime or something. The caffeine thing, like, I can't. First of all, caffeine has never been my friend. Like, caffeine and I don't go together. Just similar to how I've told you on prior videos, I'm not good with weed. Like, I have an adverse effect when I do weed. That's how my body is with caffeine too. I have a weird body. Not a weird body, but it's like certain things don't take with me. And caffeine has never been good for me. It's always caused anxiety. It's always made my chest feel funny since my early 20s. But I so badly wanted to stay up because I had started having these moments where I was nodding off that I started to drink the Red Bulls like this. Like every night I was going to the gas station and getting Red Bull, and I started feeling this funny feeling in my chest. And so I stopped drinking them. I'd had one last night, but it's like once in a blue moon I'll have one. I don't do it all the time like what I started doing a few months ago. So I started duking it out again, and I have these off moments off and on where I nod off, you know, and it's not like long, like extended periods where I'm nodding off for the whole night, like what was happening at the beginning of last year, but it's still moments where I'm nodding off and I'm on camera. So this is where I think things started getting weird at the job, in addition to the fact that I made some videos. I think those two things is where things started getting weird at my job, right? I started making videos, not anything negative on my part. It's more so just documenting gang stalking, because that's also what's been happening since I first started working back for them. And it was happening at the beginning of last year too. Gang stalking. You have gang stalkers on top of me in the shopping center, people they hire, right, that are in there making noise campaigns and watching me actively. Sometimes they come and sit right next to me doing strange things. You have people rev campaign on the road staring at me all night long, revving by. So understand this is actively happening too while I'm at work. It's been happening since even the beginning of last year when I was having the poor performance, right? It's been happening. So the gang stalking is also a factor. And so I make videos about it. And I think sometimes my videos piss people off, even though I'm just documenting what's happening. You know, it might be a night where I'm pissed off, like I'm PMSing, or, you know, I'm just too through with dealing with the thing 24/7 and I get really annoyed and I make a nasty video. And then, you know, it's this thing where it's like I've pissed people off again. In addition to the fact that there are moments where I had not off moments. So I think those two things kind of played a factor in things getting weird at the job. So anyways, because I'm telling you now, I'm not the only person to nod off at that job. But it's like, again, I'm on camera. And, you know, then too, I'm making videos that's pissing people off. So they don't like me too on top of things, I'm sure. So, I mean, it's just like, hello, you know, at least have like a stellar performance. And unfortunately for me, I have to have a stellar performance. So anyways, I've kind of caught myself, like, I want to say these last 2 months I've really caught myself because I had this argument with this coworker, and he's like an astute coworker. You know, he's one of those people that's, I think, been with the company for a long time. And out of all the guards, I keep saying that's the one thing I will never lie on this man. As much as I've had issues with him where I just felt like whatever, especially after that argument him and I had. One thing I am is an honest person. I have never seen this man sleeping. Never. There was one night where it felt like he was faking. I think he was doing it to antagonize me and be passive aggressive. But I've never really truly seen this man sleeping. Never. Never. But anyway, so he's one of those astute workers, and of all people for me to have the argument with. You know, he had this argument with me. I've talked about this in prior videos, y'all. I have to say the whole thing. It's going to be a long video. I mean, I'm trying not to make it long, but I'm just documenting the things that took place before what happened today, right? So anyways, this was about like 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. Him and I had this argument. And basically what the problem was that I was sitting in the office all night. So not sitting there all night and not doing my job. Every hour I'm leaving the office, I'm doing patrol, foot patrol like I'm supposed to. But in the in-between times, instead of sitting in my vehicle like what I used to do, I was sitting in the office. The reason I was doing so was because there was a supervisor that gave me a false directive and told me that I needed to sit in the office all night long and I couldn't sit in my car. Guess why he gave me that directive? I was making a video. I was sitting in my car and I was making a video because they were gaslighting me. They were doing ref campaign again. You know, I'm just sitting there trying to watch stuff. You can't watch anything in peace. They're watching what you're watching with you and revving by. You know, it's this weird, harsh, invasive kind of punishment where you can't watch anything in peace. You can't read anything in peace. You can't shit in peace. You can't piss in peace. You can't bathe in peace. You can't do nothing in peace. They're like really, I can't even explain it to you. They're a part of everything that you're doing, even thinking. It's so invasive that they microchip you and they're in your brain. So if you're somebody that likes to read romance novels like me, you can't even read your books because it feels weird. They're revving by when you're reading the book. Like, I want you to understand. I don't have to explain this. If you're targeted, I know you know how this feels. It's a very harsh, high level, high science, technological, psychological warfare program. Again, I think it should be relegated to the harshest of criminals. And they're using it on people that piss them off. Anyways, so that's what's happening. You know, I'll be there at work just minding my business, trying to watch stuff and just stay to myself. And they're constantly revving by for stuff. You know, with the shadow networking, they send you things to malign you and sensitize you. Usually, I've shown you guys how they do this before. They'll send you stuff like a video about somebody, and you can tell that they're insinuating that that person is like you. And so they'll be roasting the hell out of the person in the video and inadvertently roasting you. And they do that all the time. And then you have the external gang stalkers who are staring at you actively 24/7, revving by to kind of like, it's just like all inclusive bullying, psychological warfare, harassment program. So obviously eventually you get angry, especially when they're pushing all this bullshit at you. You get angry and you might make a video and you might not be the nicest when you're making the video. And so that pisses them off more. You know, it's like you get, it's just crazy. It's so crazy. It's reactive abuse to the highest level. You get pissed off at what's happening. You have a reaction. It's called reactive abuse. Look it up. I put a video up about it. Let me share that video as a matter of fact with y'all. Because I want you to understand reactive abuse is the main tactic used on targets. It's a major form of gaslighting. And that's the main thing they use on you. Where they're doing stuff to you, you have a reaction to the abuse, right? And then they focus in on the reaction and not on what caused it. Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on, guys. Let me plug my charger in. I didn't even realize that the battery was so low. My God. Good morning. Top of the morning to y'all. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sharifa. My music name is New Lily. If you're new to my channel, please scroll down and check out my How I Became a Targeted Individual summary and or full story, as well as my update video. Because in the update video, I basically just tell y'all about how my prior videos got deleted. I used to have way more videos posted, and most of them I was on camera. Now my newer videos, I'm for the most part off camera because I do not have access to that computer I used to use. And the only videos that I have on camera at the moment is my How I Became a Targeted Individual full story. So that's what's going on right now, guys. Please check that out if you're new to my channel. If you're not new, welcome back. I just wanted to share with you guys this video that showed up in my recommended. Remember I told y'all that they target me through the TV and the ads and stuff. And so they sent this, and I'm just like, are they poking fun at me? Because this is literally the gang stalking program right now. Whether they are or not, I'm so glad they put that video there. I'm about to share it with y'all. This is literally, remember I keep saying don't react, because literally that's how the program is designed. It's called poking the bear. I actually had a video, one of my videos that got deleted, of this military agent. You know, I've said this in several videos, that basically was talking about how the program works, and that it's designed to incite a reaction, a negative or adverse reaction out of the target. So now I have an actual term for what that's called. It's called reactive abuse. And so let me go ahead and share it with you guys.
Reactive abuse is where I do something to provoke the target. I find out what her weak spots are, what her vulnerabilities, her sensitivities are. I deliberately push those buttons. I deliberately provoke her into some sort of explosive outburst, which any human being over time will respond with an explosive outburst given enough passive aggression, slights and little digs here and there and triggering of their vulnerabilities. Once she's had the outburst, I've got it. Then all I have to do is focus on her outrageous outburst. Maybe she will scream at me and become angry, and then I'll say, my God, you're such an angry person, maybe you need to go to therapy. Maybe she will start crying and have a breakdown and become very sad and upset, and I'll say, my God, you're so weak, what is wrong with you? And then I'll treat her with contempt and disgust, and I'll really focus on the ugliness and the inappropriateness and the hostility of her response. Reactive abuse is where I do something.
All right, y'all. So, that's the video. Whoa, is it done? Whoa, I'm having an ADD moment. What the? I went to take it off, y'all, and it's not done. What's going on with me? I was daydreaming, y'all. Like, when I put it to play, because remember, I can't hear it. I told y'all when I do these recordings of videos or songs or whatever, I can't hear it while I'm making the video. I can hear it when I listen back afterward. So it's like I totally like went off in my head, y'all. I had a complete ADD moment, and I went to take the video off, and it's not done. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Provoke the target.
So guys, that's gaslighting. That's gaslighting, and mind you, I want y'all to look at that short that's right next to the reactive abuse short, because they were gaslighting me with that reactive abuse thing, and it actually helped me because it was showing me they're telling me what they're doing to me with the targeting, right? That's what they were doing when they sent that video. But look to the right. Do you see the video? We see people, Drake's teeth are disgusting, and you see nasty looking teeth. That's shadow networking too, by the way, y'all, because they like to try and lie and say my breath stinks and my body stinks and my mouth is this and that. There's nothing like that going on in my mouth, just so you know. But it's all bullying and them trying to make me feel low on myself. That's part of what they like to do, right? Because of some of the things that I said in my full story. So that's where that comes from. But that's shadow networking as well. What's done in this program, basically, this is why I keep saying don't react. Use me as an example, because my reactions literally made my targeting go viral and made it as horrible as can be, because I didn't know how the program worked. Sorry that I sound like this. I have food in my mouth, guys. It's morning time and I'm eating breakfast. But as you guys can see, this is something they put in my recommended. You see that? This is literally just my page. I was scrolling down. Whoops. Oh boy, it's going to reload now. Anyway, you can see that it's in my shorts. It's literally a recommended. It reloaded. I didn't mean for it to reload. But it's literally in my recommended videos. So yeah, this is what they do. They target me through the TV ads, whatever I watch, basically. But that was a good video. I'm actually glad they threw that in there. Anyways, talk to you in the next one. Peace out. All right, y'all, let me just quickly check how long this video is, because I don't want it to be too long, but I want everything, and okay. I just wanted to drop story on some of the things that's taken place since I've started working for this company again, and what's kind of led up to what's happening now, what happened today that I want to document. Sorry that I sound up in my nose, y'all, nasally. My nose, I actually need to blow it. Give me a minute, y'all. I can't pause the video, but I don't want to stop it either. So I'm going to just quickly get up and blow my nose. Y'all that have been subscribed for a while, you're familiar with me and how this works, and the fact that I have like a chronic stuffy nose. I've talked about this in many videos, something I've had since childhood. Not going to go into the details about it again right now, y'all. But let me blow my nose real quick. All right, y'all. Let me finish up. So that's what was going on. The videos, I believe, were pissing people off, and things started to get kind of gnarly at work. I mean, the gang stalking obviously is already happening. That's what leads to the videos and the angry response. But one night it got real. This is again like the start of things getting weird at work. This was like a few months ago. What happened is I had this coworker slash supervisor that had just started working for the company. I actually knew him, not really knew him, I don't know him at all actually, but I was familiar with him, like I wouldn't even say an acquaintance, that's actually too in depth, but like a familiar face. Him and I went to school together back in the day. Remember I told y'all I have like an eclectic background. I went to private school from elementary school all the way up to 7th grade, one private school. Then in 8th grade, I went to church school, which was another private school. And then 9th to 12th grade, I was in public school. So I've seen just about everything, and I've been in every type of crowd you could think of. I have an eclectic background, and you would think that would have helped me socially, but not really. It just created like this medley of confusion in my head, and I think I'm not really good at socializing with people. I never have been. But anyways, so my first private school, I went to school with this guy. We were not in the same grade, nowhere near. He I believe was a grade above my sister, if I'm not mistaken, my older sister, and my older sister is already 3 years older than me. So just kind of knew him in passing, not barely, like just the face really. And so he recognized my face, I recognized him, and I remember him actually pointing it out, mentioning it a time when him and I spoke. Like, wait, did you go to so-and-so school? I said, yeah. I said, you did too, right? He said, yeah. I said, no, I recognize the face, blah, blah, blah. We had like a decent conversation. He's a gregarious person. I wouldn't necessarily say kind. Maybe he is to other people, I don't care if they hammer. I don't care. One thing about me is I'm real. I'm not going to sit here and lie, and I'm not going to fluff up stuff because people don't like me. I don't care. I'm being real, and I'm talking about my experience with him. Anyways, I wouldn't say he's kind. I don't know how he is with other people. Remember, I'm a target. That's what I was saying before they on top of me. This is what I'd be talking about. Where you're talking, they're on top of you and they're hammering and doing noise campaigns in the back. You can't even speak. Anyway, so like I was saying, I don't know how he is with regular people. Obviously, I'm not regular. I'm targeted. And so there are a lot of people that have a chip on their shoulder when it comes to me. So I can't really, I'm smart enough to know, or wise enough to know not to judge how someone treats me, not to take it at face value because of what's going on. So it might just be somebody that has taken offense to some of the things I've said, and they're treating me accordingly. That might be what's going on. And so I have that in mind all the time with these new interactions with people that I have. But the initial interaction with him wasn't terrible. He's a gregarious person where, he's social. He looks like he could talk to a wall and have a conversation with a wall. He's one of those type of people. So him and I talked, and, I felt comfortable, talking to him a little bit, just regular everyday conversation, basic stuff. But the point is, the first few conversations I had with him, he seemed like he was going to be a cool supervisor, right? Just talking, and, I did notice him throwing a little bit of innuendos in the combo, but I'm used to that at this point. It's like almost everyone I talk to at this point, not everyone, that's a lie, not everyone, but I would say majority of the people that I interact with, they're going to throw at least one innuendo or sub in there. They're going to pinch their nose at least one time while interacting with me. I've grown accustomed to that with this targeting. It's not everyone, and it's always refreshing when I get somebody that doesn't do it, but it happens often. So it's like, it's not really a big deal. And if it's like a little minor, you threw in a little innuendo in the combo, right? Or you pinched your nose real quick to do the sensitization or whatever, not necessarily going to make a video about it. It's the overt stuff, the over the top stuff that makes me make videos, really and truly. So, him and I, the conversation was cool. He did a few things, a few passive aggressive stuff, nothing major, and nothing, to make me feel on edge or like he was going to be a supervisor that was going to give me hell. I didn't feel like that. So now this day here in question, or this night, excuse me, I was sitting in my vehicle still. This was before they cracked down on work and things got really rough at work. I was sitting in my vehicle and I was watching a video, something they threw at me with the shadow networking, I think, where they were talking about West Virginia. And they were talking about, and this is not verbatim what was said, but this is just a gist of what was said and what took place that night. They sent me something about West Virginia being run down, right? It was this video I was watching. There's this guy I like to watch. It's funny. He just came on my phone, I think it was this morning, I should say, because remember I worked the night shift. I work from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So even though it's dark out when I'm working, it's usually morning time when I'm working. You know, I'm only working for 1 hour of night, 11 p.m., and then the rest of my shift is morning time, but it's at night. You know what I mean? So anyways, I was sitting there watching this morning, the same guy. You know, I've been watching him for a while. It's this guy that what he does is he has a vlog site. And what he does is he goes around to the different states and he'll critique the state, and he'll also drive through the poor areas and the rich areas and just give a critique and also like commentary on what's going on, and he'll record it and show us, you know, in his videos. So he's smart. He found a little niche on YouTube that works, and he has a lot of subscribers. He's making a living off of these videos. But anyways, I found him before I left Island, before my targeting got as bad as it was. When did I leave? 2022. That was when I found his videos. And I was watching his videos because I was trying to figure out what state I was going to. It wasn't just him. I was looking up a bunch of videos, looking for the cheapest states to live in, lowest cost of living, harshest states, roughest states, highest crime rates. These are the type of video I was watching in 2022 before I decided on Indiana. And that's how I came across his channel. And so I started watching a lot of his videos, not only because I was trying to get info on which state I wanted to go to, but also because it was interesting. Like, his videos are actually interesting. He's very cut and dry. You know, he reminds me of myself, where he doesn't beat around the bush and he's very straightforward, to the point where it's almost like crass and it can be offensive sometimes. And so I think people sometimes get offended by his videos. I don't think so. Really, I think they're just offended because I'm watching it. You know, because he has a bunch of subscribers. It's just because I'm watching it. Anyway, so they threw it in my newsfeed. It was an algorithm, because I really did used to watch him. But they threw it in there, and I think they were trying to... You know, the shadow networkers know what they're doing. They've been running this program for a long time. And they know how to send certain things to you that they know is going to piss the people off around you. Things that might cater to whatever it is you've already said in the past to piss people off, right? Now, I never said anything bad about West Virginia. But there's already this narrative and this perception of me being this stuck-up, uppity bitch that looks down on people and mistreats homeless people and etc., and bully this and that bullshit, right? So they're gonna throw me this video with him talking about West Virginia, and he's going in on West Virginia and how downtrodden it is, and it's so bad, and this and that, whatever he was saying, right? I didn't look the video up. It was in my newsfeed. I just saw West Virginia worse, something, something. One of those clickbait titles. I told you how they like to do it. They'll send you a video with sensitization in it, and they'll make sure it's something that you want to click on. Like, they'll make sure it's a catchy thumbnail or a catchy title. And so you're going to click on it. And then when you click on it and you start watching it, you get caught up. You know, because of course the external gang stalkers are ready to pounce at anything. You're just mad anyways. They just want to pounce on you. You know, so it's just like, that's what it was. So I was watching it. And he was just going in on West Virginia and talking about how downtrodden it is, and it's one of the poorest states, and this and that, or whatever else he was saying. And they started revving by in the road and going on, you know, sick in the road, the rev campaign. Remember, this was at work. I was sitting in my vehicle. So I'm like, I sit up, I'm like, I know y'all aren't revving by like I put this on. I know y'all saw me, you know, like actively, this is so crazy how it is, but you'll be sitting there in the privacy of your car having these fictitious conversations with gang stalkers, because you know they can, it's not fictitious really, but it would seem that way, but you know they can hear you. They're revving by at everything you're watching, so you want to respond. And so it starts to create like this crazy lady type of scenario where to the naked eye it would look like you're sitting in your vehicle having full-fledged conversations with yourself, but the people involved know that you're talking to them. They know what they're doing. They know that they're revving by when certain things play on your phone. They know that they're watching you. They know that you know that they're watching you. But it's this weird thing that creates this, like, it's almost like schizophrenic emulation is what it creates. And that's what the program's designed to do, emulate schizophrenia. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm responding to the gang stalkers like I always do, like a dummy. I've recently learned to stop responding. A lot of times I just ignore them now. But before I was kind of still more responsive. I'm responding to them. I'm like, I know y'all just saw me click on this in my newsfeed. I didn't look this up. I said, what are y'all revving for? And I said, furthermore, I said, what he's saying isn't inaccurate. I said he could say it better. But I said, West Virginia is one of the poorest states. I said, I know that from watching Michael Barden's videos. Michael Barden moved to West Virginia, by the way, guys. He's a target. I've mentioned him in several videos. He gives so much good information about the targeting program. And he's been targeted for many, many years. And he's one of those that didn't figure out how to get out. And he's also used to be in the military. I think that's why he's so locked in, because I think they said he was like in the military and some weird thing happened there. I don't really know what the full story is. But that's what's going on with him. So anyway, he moved to West Virginia. Basically, he bought a house there because it's cheap, because things are rough over there from what I understand. I'm just speaking off of what I've seen from somebody that actually lives there. things are rough over there. And I knew that anyways. Before I left Island, like I told you, I was looking at these different states and cheapest states to live in, and West Virginia was one of them. But I was seeing other stuff about West Virginia and why it's so cheap, and that, the poverty level is really high in West Virginia. That's facts. That's not something subjective that I'm saying to offend people. That's facts. You can look it up. So anyways, I was just arguing with them on that level. I'm like, I don't agree with how he's saying this. This is what I was saying to the gang stalkers. I said, but what he's saying is true. Michael Barton just moved there and bought a house for cheap, and he was talking about how poverty-stricken the area is. And the reason why he moved there in the first place was because he was able to get a house on the low for cheap because he's a target and he's struggling. And so that's all I said. I didn't say anything like, yeah, it's a nasty, horrible place. This and that. It's not like I said that. I was just more so telling them I didn't even put this. I mean, I did put the video on, but I didn't look this up. And what he's saying isn't true. It's true. He could word it better, but West Virginia is one of the most poverty-stricken states. Next thing you know, I see the supervisor pop up out of... excuse me, y'all. The fan just fell on my head. Next thing you know, of course, they'll run with that too and say, it's karma. So, you know how they are. Like, they create stuff about everything, even though they see my fan falling on me all the damn time. It actually bust my eyebrow the other day. It falls on me all the time. It's fallen on me several times while I've been making this video. They would run with that moment and say because it happened just then. It's just this type of stuff. Anyway, so I see the supervisor, the same one I was talking about, the new supervisor that, kind of did passive aggressive stuff when we were talking, but for the most part, the conversations were pretty chill and cool, and he's a gregarious person. I see him walk up to my window and knock on my window. He said, hey, and he had this look in his eyes. I was just like, oh boy. I'm really intuitive. Okay? I can read. It's to the point where I overread things and I overthink things sometimes because I'm so intuitive. But I knew already that it was going to be something. I just had a feeling. It was the way the look he had on his face, what had just taken place right before he knocked on my window. I knew it was going to be something. Excuse me. So he knocks on my window and he said, hey. He said, you're not supposed to be sitting in your vehicle, He said, you're supposed to be in the office all night. He said, I could actually write you up right now for sitting in your vehicle. Why would it start like that? This was never a directive that I had been given. All of the guards, as far as I know, that work at Sunny Owls sit in their vehicle. We're not told that we have to sit in the office. So this is a new directive you're giving me, because this is eventually what he told me. He said it was a new directive and Puerto Rico was cracking down. It's a new directive. Why would you start off with, I could write you up, right? Why would he start off with that when this is the first time you're telling me about this directive? Off rip, my hecklers went off because of that, right? But I'm like, okay, I'm like, he's probably, this is a reaction here now, or retribution for what just took place in my vehicle, even though I didn't do anything wrong. Listen to them revving. I heard a slight rev. Even though I just clearly explained what took place, I know to a reasonable mind what I just said makes sense, but because I'm target, this is what I'm talking about. Anyway, so he knocks on the window and he said, I could write you up, right? He said, you're not supposed to be sitting in your car. You should be in the office all night long. I said, I'm supposed to be in the office all night long. I said, that's new. I said, all of the other supervisors know I sit in my vehicle. I said, in fact, one of the supervisors the other morning was telling one of the other guards that's new to Sunny Owls that he can park up in a nice little corner like Sharifa does and make sure he's keeping an eye on everything and patrol every hour. And he said, oh, it's a new directive. He said it's a new directive from the main headquarters. He said Puerto Rico's cracking down. Now, when he says Puerto Rico, I've talked about this in prior videos. The security company I work for, the main headquarters is located in Puerto Rico. So they have a branch of the company here on island. Remember, I'm in the Virgin Islands. But the main headquarters, from what I understand, is located in Puerto Rico. So when he says Puerto Rico is cracking down, he's talking about the head honchos over in Puerto Rico. So he's like, well, it's a new directive. He said Puerto Rico's cracking down. They're really cracking down on people now. And so it's not like I can argue with him. I can't verify whether or not what he's saying is true or false. And he's my superior. So, of course, I'm going to take the directive he's given me. I do respect my superiors and I do respect authoritative figures. I do. As much as they try to play it like I don't, I do. I've never been the kind to be disrespectful or get in trouble. That's never been me. It's gaslighting because I'm reacting to what's happening to me. They try to paint it like that. Anyway, so even though I had like a strong feeling that this was nonsense he was telling me, I'm not going to argue with him because I can't prove it. And I know that he's my superior, so I'm going to listen to what he tells me. So I said, oh man, I said, they're cracking down. I said, so we have to sit in the office all night? He said, yep. He said, you got to sit in all night. They want you in the office all night. I said, okay. I'm just feeling wary about the whole thing. And like, I just knew it. In my heart of hearts, I knew it was nonsense. But of course, I wasn't going to argue with him. So I went in the office, and this was what started me sitting in the office every night. I started sitting in the office every night. And it started to be, I think, this thing that made my coworker uncomfortable. I believe that's why he made an issue about it. If I keep it real, I think that's what it was. I think he liked to throughout the night, because I used to see him going in there throughout the night, just like I did. We would go in and out to microwave food and stuff. He would like to go in there and microwave food or whatever he go in there to do. And I would be in there all night long now, sometimes making videos, because again, reacting to the gang stalking or whatever's taking place. I used to make a lot of videos at work. I've really toned down on it now, especially since things have gotten, I think more than the nodding off, I think the videos is what led to what's happening to me now, to be quite real with you. But anyways, I used to make a lot of videos at work. So I would be making the video in the office. I know he can see what's going on with me. They're all watching me on camera. And so I think he would feel uncomfortable about coming into the office while I'm making the video. And every time he would come in, I would have to pause the video. You've even, in some of my prior videos, you can hear him come in the office and me saying, hold on, and pausing the video. And so I just think it was a source of discomfort for him. I think that's what really made him create a problem. If I'm keeping it real, I think that's what it was. So anyways, hold on guys, let me just shift here. I'm trying to hurry up. I don't want this video to be too long, and I still haven't gotten to what took place today. It's a lot of rigmarole, man. A lot that took place before we got to what happened today here. So anyways, all of a sudden I noticed about, 3 weeks in, with me staying in the office now instead of sitting in my car like I was doing before, that coworker, one of the coworkers that I used to work most nights with, on most nights I would work with him. Remember, I was working 5 nights out of the week. Actually, at one point I had 6 nights on my schedule. I had it real good. They took a night off. They took 2 nights away from me, right? So it was not only did I lose my overtime, but then I lost my 40 hours and then I got it back. I at least got my 40 hours back. I never got the overtime back, but I got my 40 hours back. But on most nights I would work with this coworker that I'm talking about now that I got in the argument with. And then on the weekends, for 2 nights out of the week, I would work with another coworker. So anyways, the other coworker that I work on the weekends with, I have to talk about him too. I don't really want to be like I'm throwing him under the bus, but it's now this situation where it seems like I'm getting in trouble for something that took place with him. And so this is why I said it's like a catch-22, because if I don't talk about it, I'm supposed to just take the rap for something that took place with him. Or do I talk about it and then it seems like I'm the villain again and I'm throwing him under the bus? It's so horrible when I talk about what's going on with him. I'll get there in a second. Let me finish talking about this coworker that created the whole issue with me sitting in the office in the first place, that led to, I believe, them making the directive that I have to sit outside all night long. So anyways, God, this is such a nightmare, y'all. It's like such a long story. It's such a long story, man. And I've documented throughout the months what's been taking place. If you check out my prior videos, I know there are some of you that keep up with my videos. You're actively commenting and keeping up, and I appreciate it. But just for the sake of clarity and for people that might be newer to the channel that didn't get a chance to check out all of my prior videos, I want documentation of what took place. And so I'm being very clear about the events that transpired prior to what took place today. But I don't want it to be like a super long video either. So I'm trying to hurry up, y'all. I suck at this. I go off on tangents a lot. And then it's a lot of info that I need to talk about here in this video. Anyway, so I went in the office with him, and I'm feeling kind of off about the whole thing. But of course, I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm just like annoyed because of course I enjoy sitting in my vehicle. After the fact, I actually was glad he gave the directive because it started getting really hot. This was shortly before summertime started. So shortly after he gave the directive, I actually realized, wait a minute, I like this directive. It's getting real hot outside and it's really nice sitting in the office. Soon as I realized I liked the directive, things shifted up. Like literally as soon as I actually started to enjoy the directive. Right? So anyway, I went into the office with him that same night where he told me that Puerto Rico was cracking down and I needed to sit in the office all night. Him and I had a conversation and it seemed like he lightened up and we were having the regular conversation. Again, like I told you, he could talk up a fish or a wall. So we were talking and things were seeming cool. And he left and I decided to, just follow the directive and stay in the office. It started feeling cool and nice. And I started staying in there every night. And so, I went off on a tangent. I realized I lost my place in the store. I was trying to get my way back. So this coworker that I work most nights with, I can notice like this shift with him where it seemed like he was uncomfortable coming in the office the way he normally would because I was sitting in there all night. And a lot of the times I would be making videos too. So I think it was just a source of discomfort for him and he didn't like it. So I noticed one night I got to work, and typically, even though we both have our own key, he would typically open or unlock the office because he would get the key from the rover, the person that drives the vehicle. He would get the key from them and open and unlock the office, and then I would go in and get my key. I noticed this night he didn't unlock the office. You know, he just started doing his drive off and head to his first stop, and I noticed the office, he didn't walk up to the office. So I was like, okay, well, it's probably just open. So I came out and I pulled the door, and I realized the door is locked. It's not opening. So I'm like, okay. You know, and they immediately started revving by. They're on my ass, y'all. Like, they are watching this like it's a movie. This is a modern day live action-packed reality TV movie for them here on island. It's like a local reality TV show, my life, and I'm not getting paid for it. It's so unfair. You know, I feel like I'm being exploited. Anyway, so they all start revving by, of course, when they notice that the door is locked. So I'm like, okay. I said, I even advocated for him. You know, I was like, okay. I said, I'm sure he did that by accident. I said, I'm sure he didn't mean to do that. You know, I said, it's not a big deal. Of course, again, answering the ref campaign and talking to them. So I drive up next to him. He's by Kmart. Oh, excuse me. I mean, it doesn't matter if I say the name of the store, but I mean, it's not like y'all know the area. So I didn't mean to say the location. He's at his first tour stop, his first scan point. He's doing his first tour and he's at his first scan point. And I pull up next to him. And I said, hey, I said, can I get the key? I said, you forgot to open the office. And he said, I can open it, right? He said, but you are not going to sit in there all night tonight. He said, you're going to be out here with me tonight. He said, I'm not going to be the only one out here working. I said, the only one out here working? I said, what are you talking about? I said, I do a scan every hour. Not a scan, excuse me. I said, I do foot patrol every hour. I know he sees me do it. They all do. They're all watching me. I actually have alarms set for every hour. So, of course, I felt vindicated in what I was saying. So I said, what do you mean out here, the only one out here working? I said, every hour I'm doing a tour. Every hour I'm walking. And he said, yeah, but you're sitting in the office all night long. I said, so? I said, that's the directive I was given. I said, the supervisor told me to sit in the office. I said, that's why I'm not sitting in my car anymore. And he said, well, he said, that's a problem. He said, you need to be out here with me. He said, I'm going to call the supervisor. He said, tomorrow I'm going to speak to Mr. So-and-so. And he was talking about not the supervisor, the general manager, as I believe what he is, the manager over all of the supervisors and over the branch here on island. He said, tomorrow I'm calling Mr. So-and-so. So I said, okay, you call him and I'm going to call him too. I said, I'm just following the directive that a supervisor gave me. Excuse me. And this is something I can bring up in tomorrow's meeting too. The fact that I do follow directives to a fault, to the point where I was following a false directive and got in problems for it. So I don't have a history of not following what supervisors tell me. Anyways, so him and I, you know, start arguing about this, and he basically just tells me he's going to call, you know, the head manager tomorrow and speak to him. I said, you call him and I'm going to call him too. You know, because I know I'm following a directive. And not only that, I know he saw when it was given to me because he was working that night. And they're all watching what's going on with me actively. So I know he saw when that supervisor gave me that directive. So I didn't understand him acting like he didn't know that I was supposed to be in the office. I didn't understand that. But anyways, so we go back to the office. Both him and I drive back to the office. He's driving the patrol vehicle. I'm driving my personal vehicle. He opens the office door. He instantly gets on the phone and calls the supervisor. So he didn't even wait till the next day to call the general manager like he said he would. He instantly got on the phone and called the supervisor. Now, mind you, I was kind of getting, it's gotten like these last, I was getting an energy from him from before. It wasn't something that was bad enough that I felt like I needed to make a video about him. You know, I had another coworker. Y'all, there's a lot of noise happening. Let me stop the video and I can't focus. And I've been talking for a long time too. So I'm at the point where I'm telling y'all when this fight happened. I've talked about this in prior videos, but again, I'm rehashing and reiterating these things. I'm restating these things I've said in prior videos to talk about what led up to what happened today. So where I'm leaving off is where this coworker and I head back to the office for him to open it for me, but he's calling a supervisor on me because I'm sitting in the office every night, even though it was a directive that was given to me. So I think the noise stopped, y'all, because I was hearing noise out there. It was going to make me stop the video and start back. Yeah, it sounds like it stopped. Anyway, sorry, I'm just trying to hear if it stopped, if I need to stop the video now or not. Anyway, so him and I head back to the office, and he opens the office for me. But the thing is, I was already getting a vibe from this guy. Like, I could tell he didn't really care for me as a person. Like, he was one of those people that didn't care for me. Like, I had said something, obviously, that offended him, and I was on his shit list, pun intended. But I could tell. It wasn't like he was doing overtly aggressive things. Like, one of the coworkers I made a video about from last year, I ended up taking the video down because I didn't want problems. That coworker was doing some really overt stuff. Like, he was like literally walking by me, staring me down, making conversations with me full of innuendos. Like, he was really doing some, like, not even passive, some straight up aggressive stuff. And that's why I made videos about him. Eventually took the videos down. Coincidentally enough, I worked with that coworker last night. I haven't seen him in months. I don't know where he's been. But anyways, I don't want to bring stuff up with him again. Like, I don't want to create stuff with that. But with this one, this coworker here that I'm talking about, with him, it's more passive. Like, you know, when you could just tell somebody doesn't care for you, but they're not being overt about it. Even with your targeting, they're not doing obvious things. So he never did anything obvious enough for me to make a video about it. The first time I ever made a video about this guy was literally a few months ago, 2 to 3 months ago, when that argument that I'm talking about took place. And he has the accent. I've said this in prior videos, of that nationality that I offended in the past decades, about a decade and change ago, with the cyber stalking, cyberbullying guy. When I rehashed it recently, when I told my full story and stuff, and I told my whole story about the things I've been through, including whatever happened with the cyber stalking, cyberbullying guy. And I told y'all, out of anger, in my early 20s, I made a stupid comment where I said this nationality of people, whatever that guy's nationality was, it's a different island. I said they seemed ignorant, is what I said. And I said it out of anger, first of all. And it's not like I said stupid. I said ignorant, which literally, if you look it up, it just means not knowing. So you're not knowledgeable about something. And so I was really just talking about specifically some things that I had experienced with 2 of the people of that nationality. Not even necessarily him. I didn't even really experience whatever I was talking about with him, actually. It was more so the girl that was my roommate and the guy I thought I was in love with in high school. It's just a long story, y'all. Like, they were good people, especially the guy from high school. You know, good person. It was just like I told y'all. It seemed like it's just some of the comments he used to make about people that were dark skinned, you know, and so that's what made me say the ignorant thing, which was so dumb, because not everyone of that nationality feels that way. And shit, there are people of that nationality that are dark skinned. So I can acknowledge it was an ignorant comment, and I already have, and I've apologized for it a million times. It was something I said in my early 20s, man. You know, but nonetheless, he has that accent. So I feel like that's partially where the tiff is, or the annoyance, or whatever feeling he's having towards me. In addition to these other videos, like, there are people that hold on to the things I say and they're offended for whatever reason, puffed up in the chest, and they're not, you know, they have whatever feelings towards me. Anyway, so I didn't get like that kind of vibe, like he didn't necessarily care for me. You know, I remember that first when I was working with him, when I first started working with him, I used to say goodnight to him. He used to say goodnight back. And then I started making my videos, and I noticed he stopped saying goodnight, you know, and it started to be like this passive aggressive energy where it just seemed like, you know, just weird. But it wasn't anything I would make a video about. But the point is, I do think from before there was already this dislike there. And so then I think now me sitting in the office all night and I'm making videos and he feels uncomfortable coming in for whatever reason. You know, he could have came in. I'm not an unreasonable person. You know, even though I was given the directive to be in the office and I'm sitting there making videos, I don't own the office. I'm aware of the fact there's a fridge in there, there's a microwave in there. I know that at any given time you can come in and use the microwave and fridge just as I have a right to, and I'm not going to get mad about it. You know, so it's like you didn't have to be uncomfortable. You could have came in and did whatever you had to do. I would just pause my video like I had been doing. But I just feel like the whole thing was making him uncomfortable. So anyways, so he flew and went to call the supervisor in that moment when we pulled up to the office. He didn't even bother to wait till the next day to call the general manager. He calls the supervisor, you know, and starts complaining. So I call the supervisor too. And I'm like, you know, explain to the supervisor, hey, this supervisor so-and-so just told me, you know, a couple weeks ago that I need to sit in the office or I could get written up. I said, that's why I'm sitting in the office all night. I said, every hour I'm doing patrol. I said, I don't understand what the issue is. He said, well, the supervisor I called and spoke with that night said, I've never heard that directive before. He's like, I don't know why he told you that, but I'm not going to tell you to sit in the office all night just to be safe. He said, just be back and forth. I said, okay, no problem. I said, I usually am anyways. I said, I do patrol every hour. Then now it turns into this thing where the secretary calls me from the office because obviously the guy called and he didn't call and complain. I called. I was ahead of it. That's what happened. I called them the next day. I called the office. I'm sure they had already heard about the situation. Everybody's watching me on camera, first of all. But second of all, I'm sure he stayed true to his word and called them. But anyways, I called them and I just told them what took place, and I told them the name of the supervisor that gave me the directive. You know, and I almost... Anyways, I don't want to say this because I'm not sure if that's what I heard, and I don't want to create problems. I felt like I heard laughing in the background when I called. I did. But I'm not sure, and I don't want to, you know, create stuff, you know, and make things worse for myself. But I was telling them maybe it's just PTSD because of the bullying and everything else I'm dealing with being targeted. But I called, right, and I was telling them, this supervisor so and so told me that I'm supposed to sit in the office all night long. I said he literally gave me the directive and he told me I could get written up for it. And I said, so this is why I've been sitting in the office. And then I said, and now this coworker was complaining about it. And I said, he told me he was going to call Mr. So-and-so. And I said, so I wanted to call and talk to you all about it and get clarification on that directive. And they said, who gave you the directive again? I said, supervisor so-and-so. And so they said, well, I don't know why he told you that. You're not supposed to sit in the office. You are supposed to be outside and you need to be aware of what's going on outside and this and that, right? And they were telling me that, right? And so after that, shortly after that phone call, I want to say like a couple days later, they came with this new directive that I needed to sit outside all night. So it's not, now I can't sit in my vehicle. I can't sit in the office. I have to sit outside all night long. Now, mind you, there's gang stalkers in the shopping center. And so now this gives them free reign to my personal space where they can come and sit up next to me and all this. You know what I mean? Like, it just really turned into a nightmare. But that became the directive. And so I'm like, oh my God, this all started because of the supervisor that gave me this false directive. Like, I would have probably still been sitting in my car had it not been for that moment with him. So it's hard not to feel resentment, but it's like I'm trying not to. It's like I already have enough enemies. So I can feel resentment towards somebody that wronged me, and that could create more of a problem for me. So anyways, so it just this trickle effect, right? It started with him giving me the false directive, then this coworker having the issue and complaining, and then it led to basically all of us now have to sit outside is what they're saying. But I don't know, I don't really understand what's really going on. I don't know if it's just a me thing or if it's everyone. I don't really know. I've seen some things when I've pulled up and I'm just like, I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. But what I'm being told is that everyone the foot guards have to sit outside. So anyway, so that's what I've been doing. I've been sitting outside for the last few weeks. I've been sitting outside because that's what they told me I had to do. They said all night long I have to sit outside. I can't go in the office. It got so bad that they actually took the key for the office, right? So it's like we can't even go in the office because what I started doing was I would sit outside for the whole night, and then for my lunch hour, I would go into the office. So for 30 minutes, 45 minutes is what I was doing because one supervisor told me that you have a 30-minute lunch break and then you have a 15-minute break. And so I was just putting the two breaks together. And so I would go into the office at 5:15 and I would stay in there until 6 o'clock. So I could get at least almost an hour of AC and office time. I was then later informed that officer gave false info. Not false info. She didn't do that. You could tell she didn't do that intentionally. It wasn't like that supervisor that gave the false directive, on purpose. Like, you could tell he was spitefully telling me that I needed to sit in the office as some sort of retribution. With her, I think she genuinely thought that the shopping center had a 15-minute break and a 30-minute lunch break. And so I was given clarity about it, and I realized that it was just a 30-minute break that we're given. So I started making this thing where for 30 minutes I would go sit in the office. From 5:30 to 6 o'clock, I would go sit in the office and get 30 minutes of AC. I think that was the problem. Because then I noticed all of a sudden the key was removed from the shopping center. So we couldn't go in the office anymore. Can't access the microwave, can't access the fridge. I used to put cold drinks in the fridge to get cold. I used to actively bring food to microwave. That became a nightmare too. So it just started feeling like a lot of punishment and retribution type stuff is what it felt like, because they're all the time, every time like these new things would happen, they're revving by in the background, to pound in what's taking place. Like, this is punishment, bitch, haha, like that kind of way. Like, every time these new things would happen, like when they told me I had to sit outside all night, revving was taking place. When I discovered the key was taken from the shopping center, revving was taking place. So it's kind of like this pounding in, like, hello, Target, that's what it is. That's what this is really, that's kind of what it felt like. I'm just keeping it real. I'm just telling y'all, documenting what's been happening and how bad it's gotten in the last couple of months at work, and how it feels, like it's kind of just been a trickle effect from really me responding with videos to what's been taking place. The gang stalking and the harassment is what it feels like. So anyways, look, they're humming now. They're doing the hum. I guess whenever I make sense, because I know what I'm saying makes sense, they start to hum on me. Anyways, y'all, let me try to hurry up and finish the vid. Let me see how long I've been going. A lot has taken place these last few minutes. Sum it up quickly. How long have I been going? It's not saying. It's saying stop broadcast, but it's not telling me how long I've been going. Let me stop the video, y'all, just to make sure it usually tells me how long I've been going. That's odd. That's not telling me. Let me stop just in case. The last thing I want is to be here running my mouth for so long and it's not going. All right, guys. So I realized I was still recording. Thank goodness. But the video is way too long. It's already an hour 20. I want to try to wrap it up now. So that's basically what it's been. I've been now for the last month or two sitting outside all night long, and making sure to follow that directive. I've been doing that, making sure to do my patrol, and that's just basically what it's been. And off and on, I've had moments where not anything like what's happened in the past, where I've nodded off. And when I say nod off, not what you think either, not like a nod off where I was actually sleeping. It's more so like I'm sitting up, fully sitting up, watching a video, and literally my head will go, and I won't even feel it happening. I'll be watching, like, let's say a 5-minute video, and my head will go down, and then I'll look up and the video's still playing. That's how short of a time I was nodded off. And I'm like, oh shit, I catch myself and I slap myself, and the bird drone in the back is going, chirp, chirp, chirp. Like, I freak out when it happens because I'm like, all this stuff is happening already. I cannot afford to nod off. And so it freaks me out anytime it happens. I'm paranoid and looking over my shoulder thinking somebody's going to take a picture. It feels like everyone's out to get me. I'm like, I can't let this happen, right? So I've been very good about not nodding off. Excuse me, I told you I even drank a Red Bull last night. I've been making sure to do my patrols like I always do, but also to just not letting myself nod off. But there are moments when it happens. I'm keeping it honest with you. It still happens. Even when I'm sitting outside and I'm sitting up and body in full sit-up position, I just cannot help it. It happens sometimes. It's like, and it's not for long periods of time either. I mean, like, I'm talking 1 minute, 2 minutes, but that's all it takes for somebody to come and take a picture of you. And it doesn't happen every night either. I really try not to let it happen, but sometimes it happens, right? Not often, not at all. But the worst nod off happened the other night, where it was literally like, it wasn't just a couple minute nod off. It was like several minutes nodded off, and it happened multiple times throughout the night. Like, I hadn't had a nod off this bad since working back for the company. Like, the last time I had a nod off that bad was when I was working for the company at the beginning of the year last year. This was bad. Like, it was a really bad night for me. This was last Friday. Last Friday was the worst nod off night I've had in a long ass time. And it still wasn't long periods of sleeping either, like what was happening at the beginning of last year, where I would literally just put my head down on the desk and I KO. It was more so like I would nod off for a few minutes, catch myself, and then nod off again, catch myself, and then nod off again, catch myself. And it was happening all night last Friday. And what happened was, I went to the gym. The car I've been using belongs to someone in my close circle. She doesn't have the money to get it registered right now. So before, I was living La Vida Local, and I was able to drive her vehicle, not have to worry about catching public transportation, because I told you how it's kind of sometime-ish with that, where I don't know if I'm going to get a ride from one day to the other, especially going to the gym. From the gym, the ride is guaranteed, because that's one of the main bus stations, right? So I know the bus is going to be there, and it's going to be there on time. But this trying to catch a bus to the gym from the location where I live, or from the shopping center that's near to where I live, it's this thing where it's been some time-ish with the bus, where I told y'all the bus ain't coming on time, or, it's not showing up when I'm there on time, and stuff like that started happening. I documented it in my videos, in prior videos. I know with the taxi bus, even worse, they just wouldn't stop. They just drive right by me and not stop. That's what started happening. And so it became this thing where I literally could not get a ride to the gym. I was like, are you kidding me? And if you check out my videos, you'll hear why that started happening. Sorry, let me hop over here. If you check out my parts 1, 2, and 3 episode in the gym, right? You'll hear me documenting. You can see this was 5 months ago, when they kind of started to what felt like shut down the public transportation on me, or make it very difficult for me to catch a ride, right? And if you hear what started it, it's another thing similar to the West Virginia thing, where it wasn't really anything that I did. It wasn't anything to cause a shutdown, but it happened, and almost feel like just something they wanted to do anyways, because they were annoyed with me. I'm just being real. That's what it felt like. But anyways, I don't want to make problems now because things have gotten a little bit better with the public transportation. It really has, and I don't want to create something and then make stuff start up again with that. But it's kind of been, off and on when it comes to getting to the gym. Whereas I know leaving the gym and getting home, I can get the bus for sure. So having that vehicle to drive, when that person started letting me drive her vehicle, I was like, yes, I have an active ride to the gym. I'm like, yay, and her vehicle's been not registered. But now it seems like they pulled over someone in my close circle that was driving her vehicle, and it had to be towed here to the house. And so, we can no longer drive the vehicle during the daytime. And what led to me saying that? Why am I saying that? What led to me saying that, y'all? What led to me saying that? Why did I start talking about the transportation and the gym? Us. Oh, that's why. Because I was explaining to you guys about the nod off that took place last Friday. That's why. So like for the last week and a half, I've had to, ask someone else in my close circle to give me a ride to the gym, and then I'd catch the bus back home. And so it's kind of been difficult getting the ride there, and, it takes a while for me to get there, and I'm not getting there in the time I need to get there to catch the bus that I would need to catch. So I time it in a way where I can go do a workout and then catch the bus and not have to wait for hours for a bus. But it's kind of been difficult with getting the ride. And so it's just led to me kind of getting dropped off whenever. And so this day in question, last Friday, I was dropped off in this way where I wouldn't have enough time to work out and catch the most current bus that was going to show up. So I would basically have to sit there, it would seem like for 3 hours, waiting for a bus if I didn't sit there and work out for an extended period of time. So what I did was I said, okay, well, today's going to be a marathon day. That's what I told myself last Friday. And so I did like overtime. I did like double the reps of every workout that I normally do. I was in there for 3 hours and change last Friday, working out my upper body, working out my lower body, just going ham in the gym, right? And so I was in there for like 3 hours and change. And then when I was done, I only had to wait an hour for the bus because I didn't want to sit there waiting while they stare at me. You have to understand, sitting at the bus stop is not like a regular sit at the bus stop. I'm targeted and everyone's staring at me and actively revving by and all this other stuff. It feels uncomfortable. Also, it's summertime, so it's super humid and hot. So it's just like sitting out there. You don't want to sit out there for hours and hours and hours. It just feels horrible. So I was like, okay, well, rather than sit out there for hours and hours, I'd rather work out for hours and hours. And so that's what I did. I worked out and I worked out and I worked. I did a bunch of push-ups. I did like 50 pull-ups. I did some dips. I was doing squats like crazy. I was doing leg abductors. I was doing lunges, leg extensions, all kinds of stuff, man. I was in that gym for hours on Friday. And then when I got home, I couldn't sleep. And this happens to me often too. That's partially what also makes me so tired at work. Insomnia during the daytime. Like I have trouble getting to sleep. But I force it now. Like I really try to force myself. But this day I got back home, I was exhausted and I was having trouble getting to sleep. As tired as I freaking was, I could not get to sleep. I didn't get to sleep until I want to say like an hour before I had to get up for work. So I got like an hour of sleep after doing that marathon in the gym. And I went to work that night and I just could not keep my eyes open. I'm telling you, like, I nodded off, I want to say like an hour or two into the shift. I never nod off that early. Nod off happens in the wee hours of the morning. So I want to say like around 4 or 5 o'clock. That's when things start getting really hard for me. The earliest I would say it's ever happened, 3 o'clock. But really it's 4 or 5 o'clock is the peak hours where a nod off could happen if it's going to happen to me. I was like an hour or two into the shift. I'm talking like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and I'm nodding off. Nod off. I'm like, damn, I couldn't sleep at home, but now here I am. I can't keep my eyes open. And the whole night, I just kept nodding off and catching myself, and the birds were just going ham in the background. The bird drones, and they were revving by too, and I just could not catch myself. I was getting up and doing my tour. Every hour when the alarm would go off, I was getting up and doing my patrol. I was doing that. But then as soon as I'd sit my ass in the seat, nodding off. This was, again, I reiterate, the worst nod off night I've had in months. Like since working back for the company, to be honest with you. I have not had a night like this since working back for the company. And I was just like, oh my God, this is terrible because things are all cracked down at work now. They're like on my ass now. This is not the time to be having this type of night. So I already know not to really text the secretary. I told you guys about this in which video did I talk about that? It doesn't matter, whatever. In one of these recent videos, I talked about that meeting I had the last time I went to the office with the higher ups, right? The last meeting I had with them, I documented that and I talked about what took place. And I talked about even the secretary mentioning frivolous texts or texts being sent unnecessarily. And I was talking about why I was texting her. You know, it's because I had lost hours and I'm broke and struggling as it is. But then also too, there are those little texts in between where there'd be a moment where I'd nod off for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And I feel like I need to text her because I don't know who saw, you know, and I don't want to lose my job. And so I was texting her too much about that. And so I stopped doing that. Right. And also too, I've stopped myself from nodding off as much as possible. This night, oh boy, Friday night, last Friday, it was just like all night. Like literally, I want to say like an hour to two into the shift, I was already nodding off. The whole night, it was just like consistently on and off, nodding off, catching myself, nodding off, catching myself. Still doing my tour every hour, but nodding off, catching myself on the in-between time. So I was like, nah, this is something that could lead to punishment. I'm already in a bad way right now with this job. Like, this is a night here that could lead to retribution. So it's like, I need to text her. This is one of those times where I need to text her. And so, you know, I'm sitting in my head. I'm like, should I text her or should I just, you know, and I said, maybe I shouldn't. And I heard the bird drones going off like they were trying to warn me not to text her, right? Because I was like, maybe I should just leave it and not text her. And they're going in the background. And I was just like, okay, well, maybe they're telling me not to text her. But I'm like, nah, I know everybody saw the kind of night I just had. I'm like, I could really, you know, get retribution for this. I need to explain to her what's going on, and I should touch bases and just tell her what happened. Not to use that word, ugh. But anyways, so stupidly I sent the text message. I regret it now. I think I should have just let the night be what it was and not text her. So I text her. I'm not going to go into the messages now because I don't want you to see her name and all that. But basically the gist of what I said was, hey, I said, I know you said not to send you these frivolous text messages. She didn't use the word frivolous, but that's what I'm using. You know, just basically these useless, unnecessary text messages. I said, I know you said not to send you these frivolous text messages in the last meeting, and I haven't been doing so. But this is something that I feel like I need to text you about because I had a really bad night last night. I said, this is the worst shift I've had since working back for the company. This is what I told her. And I said, I wasn't feeling well earlier, which isn't a lie. They saw what happened to me. Prior to going to the gym that day on Friday, my stomach was turning. It was really upset. And I want to say for the last week and a half, because it's been happening since last week, the hum has now been creating some sort of stomach issue with me. Before it was just my throat. Now it's my stomach, some sort of issue with my stomach. So I don't know what the hell the thing is doing to my body. Really, I've been documenting it. I have text messages and everything where I have talked about what it's doing to me. I've been texting for weeks about it and documenting and keeping a paper trail of it because I don't know if it's going to have long-lasting, God forbid, effects or not. Or if it's just a now type of, your discomfort now type of thing. You're uncomfortable now type of thing. Anyway, so my stomach was already turning before I went to the gym on Friday. And I took my stupid ass because I didn't want to wait for the outside for the bus for hours. And the time when I was dropped off was inconvenient for me, but I'm the one getting the ride, so I have to just take what I can get. I worked out for hours and then got home and I only slept for about an hour. So it was just rough. Everything was rough. I wasn't feeling good and I couldn't keep myself up. I was nodding off all night. And so I felt like if I'm transparent and I talk to her about it, even though I see that didn't work in the past, I'm like, if I send her the text and I talk to her about it, maybe that might lighten what took place that night. I think it made it worse. It's like I now gave them physical evidence that this is what happened, you know, like stupid. I should have just listened to the bird drones. Anyway, so I noticed she didn't answer me, and I just noticed she sends me the schedule for this week, and I only have 2 days on the schedule. So 3 of my days were taken for this week. So I didn't argue with her. Of course I didn't. I'm like, stupid me, I sent the text, and I did have a bad night. So it's like I didn't even bother to argue with her because there's nothing I can say. That really happened, and I gave you the text message telling you it did. So I was like, okay, 2 days on the schedule. Hopefully that's not the case going forward. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen to me again, what took place that night. I said, no more marathons in the gym. I'm going to do my little hour and a half, come home, make sure I rest, that's it. I even told myself I'm going to start drinking Red Bulls if I need to, not every night, because that's not good for your heart. And I told y'all what started happening to me a few months ago. But every now and then I will sip one. Last night I drank one because I made sure I didn't nod off last night. I'm like, not even for a moment. I'm not letting it happen. So I was sipping Red Bull last night. Anyway, so, you know, notice I had the 2 days on my schedule. I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be a rough paycheck. Oh, well, you did that to yourself, buddy. You know, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was just kind of accepted that. So the whole week passes. Now, remember, this was last Friday. Today is now, you guys can see, Thursday. I didn't get any message about coming to the office or anything like that. I just was given the schedule with the 2 days on it. Days go by from last Friday when the shift took place. Yesterday, Wednesday, I went to the gym. I had a gym day. That was the day when I made the video you see. Remember 15 hours ago? You see gym update? I made that video 15 hours ago where I was talking about the fact that I'm now squatting 230 on the Smith machine. So I've gone heavier. I went up 20 pounds. So instead of 210, I'm squatting 230 on the Smith machine, and then doing the same thing I was doing on the other squat machine. Nothing changed there. But I went up 20 pounds. I felt good about it. So I just wanted to talk about the fact that I went up 20 pounds. I felt good about that. And I didn't say anything bad either. I don't really understand. This is like this all tint, all black vehicle that drives through sometimes, and I feel like it's a gang stalker. I didn't even say anything bad in that video, y'all. If you listen to you check out the video, y'all. It's only 50 minutes long. I didn't say anything bad. And before I even mentioned work, by the way, the only reason I even mentioned work towards the end of that video was because I had gotten that text, so it was in my head. But prior to saying anything about work, all I was talking about was lifting heavier. I started making the video, right? I was about 5 to 10 minutes in when I got the text message from the secretary. I hadn't said anything bad. I was just talking about lifting heavier. I was 5 to 10 minutes in, and then I stopped the video because there was an interruption that took place. And that was when I saw her text telling me to come into the office tomorrow at so-and-so time. So it's like, is it because of this video? So it's like, I'm making this video. I'm not saying anything negative or bad. I haven't said anything bad, you know? And so I deleted the first clip that I had because there was a lot of stammering and interruptions that took place. And I started the video again with in mind the fact that I had gotten this text after I had made the first clip that I ended up deleting. But I was like, I didn't say anything about work. I didn't say anything negative. I'm just talking about lifting heavier. So I didn't really understand why that would have caused a punishment or her to call me in, or maybe this was something they were planning to do and it was just a coincidence, the timing of me getting the text right as I had started making that video. I don't really know if it was a coincidence. It's hard when you're targeted and you deal with some of the stuff that happens. It's like everything seems like something, you know, even if it truly is synchronicity and just a barrel coincidence. It's hard to think so, especially when, you know, everybody's watching you at every minute. Like, everybody's watching you always. So I know she saw me making that video. I know they're all seeing me. And so in my head, I'm like, is it because of the video? You know, because I'm like, I didn't say anything bad. You know, now towards the end of the video, I did talk about the fact that I didn't understand why, you know, I get backlash really, in the gym when I start lifting heavier and stuff. They start doing the stuff like the passive aggressive stuff, like pushing the cart with water in it. And, you know, I said, it's not like I'm even doing anything major with my life at the moment. I said, I'm not even working the kind of job I usually work. I'm usually working during the daytime teaching or something and then doing supplemental income security in the evening. I said, I'm only doing security right now. I did say that at the end of the video, but that was after getting the text from her. That was way after getting the text from her. So I don't understand why they're gaslighting me about that. So I said that after getting the text from her. So I don't really understand why they're beeping or anything like that. She sent me the text when I first started making the video. And the first clip that I ended up deleting, she sent it before I deleted that first clip. And I hadn't said anything bad. And so then now I had that text in mind. And when I made the video and I got towards the end and I was talking about the gang stalking that took place after I lifted heavier in the gym yesterday with the carts with the water bottles in it in Pueblo, I just made the comment that I don't know why I get the backlash that I do for working out. Something as simple or as minuscule as working out when I've done it my whole life, first of all. And second of all, it's just something I'm doing to pass the time, obviously to keep me fit too and healthy, but to pass my days by because I'm not doing anything during the daytime. I said it's not like I'm working, you know, a job during the daytime. I'm only doing security at night. That's what I said at the end of the video. But that was before, that was after she sent me the text message. So I don't understand what they're trying to insinuate. I really don't. But anyway, so all of that I took into consideration. I'm like, okay, so stupidly I sent the text on Friday and I really did have a bad night that night. I had the 3 days taken off my schedule, but nothing about me coming into the office was sent to me. A whole darn near week passed by, you could say. Then yesterday, Wednesday, I go to the gym, I lifted heavier, they did the water bottle thing, I come home, I start making the video, and then I got the text from her. No, again, I acknowledge that could be a coincidence, because she's very busy, she really is. I see her when I go in there, she's like dealing with hundreds of different guards. You know, she's the secretary for the main branch on the whole island, dealing with all these different guards at all these different posts. So I know she's in charge of contacting all these different people, and it could really just be a coincidence. It could have really just been true synchronicity. But it's so hard to think that way when you're targeted and all these things happen all the time. You're constantly in a state of paranoia and feeling like, you know, is it because of this? Like, is it because I started making this video? Like, that's when I got the text, you know, and it was like a whole almost week after, you know, her taking the 3 days off my schedule. Anyway, so all of these things took place prior to me going into the office today, right? So I go into the office today, and as soon as I got in there, you know, I was there on time. I was only 3 minutes late. They told me to be there for 12 o'clock. I got there at 12:03. I went in there, and the main manager that wanted to meet with me was in a meeting. The secretary told me, well, sorry, he's in a meeting right now. An unexpected meeting came up and he's in a meeting right now. That's basically what she told me. I don't know why they're chirping the bird. And so I was sitting there. My brain ticks. I already talked about this in my last video, y'all. And in the prior video, I really talked about it in the prior video, the sharing 3 new poems and the info about grounding video. And I've talked about this in a lot of videos, y'all, about the way my brain ticks and, the psychological programming, whatever. This is how it works. It's psychological, right? So no matter who I'm around, it's not just her. I know they've seen it happen with just about darn near anyone because they're always revving. I know they see it happens with everybody at this point. My brain just starts ticking. It's a nightmare and it's embarrassing. And then I already have this thing where I'm feeling anxious because I'm here in the office. Everybody's staring at me. I don't know what's about to take place. I already told y'all what happened the last time I had the meeting with the higher ups, how that meeting went. So I'm tense and I'm like, I don't know what to expect. So anyways, after a while of waiting and my brain kind of ticking off, and it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, the ticking, that is. I asked her, because also too, the person that gave me the ride was waiting in the car. So I was taking him into consideration and the heat outside. And also in addition to the fact that I was uncomfortable. And I'm sitting there and my brain is ticking. And it seems like, that's 10 minutes, 15 minutes go by. I'm like, okay, whoa. When am I getting called in? Like, my brain is ticking right now, So I just told her, I said, hey, my ride is waiting outside. I said, do you know how long the meeting is going to be? And so she got up and she checked. And then she told me to come with her in the back room. So I went with her in the back room and she's talking to me basically about what the matter's about. And she's telling me it's about the same thing we met about 2 or 3 weeks ago, prior to them giving me the new directive, because there's a new directive that was given as well. So it's not just that I have to sit outside all night, but now at the end of the night, at 5 o'clock, I have to go with vehicle patrol. I have to sit in the vehicle patrol vehicle with my coworker who does vehicle patrol. I have to go with them, help them put up the flags, because that was vehicle patrol's duty before. It's now because of what took place when they called me into the meeting the last time. I told you guys that they called me in for the meeting because of something that a coworker did that I didn't do. So basically a coworker I was working with, he, when he had the vehicle, he had vehicle patrol. He didn't put the flags up and he didn't close the gate in the back, right? So, they called me in to meet with them last time, right? And I told y'all the meeting happened shortly after I made that last video. Coincidentally enough, the last video where I was talking about how they kept sending me the race sensitization, how they kept sending me stuff about being like a serial killer, and how they kept sending me stuff about ALS and neurodegenerative diseases. So in that video, let me scroll there real quick. The targeted individual sensitization and programming video, right? I was just showing you all statistics and demographics of the people that catch ALS, and also the demographics of the small ass population of serial killers in the US. They're getting offended by facts. That's what's ludicrous to me. They're actively sending me bullshit, right? Throwing stuff at me about being a serial killer and then revving in the background about it. And so I use my brain and I say, well, let me look up demographics to show them why I don't fit that criteria. And also for the ALS, that kind of feels low-key like a threat. I don't think they would do that down here to me. But still, I've heard other targets tell horror stories, and the technology really can do that. And they keep hinting to me about ALS. I said, let me look up the demographics of both of these things and share it in a video so they can stop sending me the nonsense, right? Because it kind of feels like a threat with the ALS. And with the serial killer thing, it's just you're painting this false narrative and trying to bully me about stupidness. Let me show you why I don't fit into that category, or why it would be unlikely for me to fit into that category. But because I'm on thin ice when it comes to the race thing, I'm not just anybody. Anyone else could have done the type of video I did and it would have been all right. But because of the history I now have, because of reactive abuse and the offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda I shared in my car in Florida, anything about race is like I'm on eggshells. I can't say anything about race without them coming for my neck. So even if I'm just advocating for myself because they're constantly maligning me and sending me with the shadow networking stuff about serial killers and ALS, and then revving in the background, and I just now in response make a video showing you the demographics that make up both of those populations and that I don't fall in line with the criteria of people that have ALS or the criteria of that population that make up serial killers. And I made sure too in the video to show that the population of serial killers is so freaking small. it doesn't matter what your demographic is, it's highly unlikely that you're going to have that personality type. I made sure to show that in the video. So I showed that, first of all, how small of a percentage of the population even has that type of personality type to begin with. So no matter what your demographic is, whether you're male, female, right? Black, white, Spanish, whatever, doesn't matter what your demographic is, it's rare for anybody to have that personality type. But the population of serial killers that do exist in America, or who have existed in America, I just showed the demographics. And really, I didn't look it up either. It's not like I looked up demographics. What happened is, I started off with the ALS. I was trying to do a similar video to what I had created prior to this part 2 targeted individual video, where I showed demographics for ALS, because it kept sending it to me. So I said, let me look into this further, right? And so I just typed in, who is more likely to catch ALS? I showed y'all in the video what I typed into the search bar. I didn't type in demographics. And that was when they went further this time, and they sent me more info. Rather than just age and gender, they sent me race as well. So to me, that was like a golden nugget. Not because I'm trying to offend another race, but because I completely, you could say, eliminated my being a possibility, right? My being able to catch that thing, right? It would be so rare for me to catch it. They said 60% of men catch it, 40% women. So it's more common in men. That's first of all. Second of all, it's rare to catch it earlier than 50, right? You typically see the onset of it 50 and up, sometimes 40s. It's happened to younger people, it has, but it's rare. So the age doesn't match up. The gender, it's not that it doesn't match up, but I'm less likely than men to catch it. And then the race didn't match up. They said 95% of people that catch it are of whatever race. I'm not going to say I don't want to offend anyone, but not my race. There are people of my race who have diseases that affects only our demographic. Look it up. You can look up the different diseases that exist. It's a genetic thing. So they have different autoimmune diseases that affect certain races. And so this just happened to be an autoimmune disease that affects a certain race. That wasn't mine. But I was able to use that little nugget to protect myself, to show that if God forbid, Yah forbid, that did happen to me, that's likely genetic manipulation, because I am being injected with technology, and they do have the capability to do it. I even showed y'all a video they sent me showing what the nano can do and how it can change DNA or mutate DNA for the better or worse. I was showing y'all the stuff they were sending me. That's why I showed the demographics. I was trying to advocate for myself. That seemed to cause a problem. I don't know. It's just because it's a race thing. You know, I didn't even say it in an offensive way. I was tiptoeing through the whole video. But literally right after I made this video, the day after they called me to come into the office, the last meeting, not the meeting I had today, the last meeting, right? Right after I made this video, the day after they called me into the office. And so they brought up this situation, or this scenario that took place with my coworker, where this was before they gave me the new directive after that meeting, right? So when that meeting took place, the duties were as follows. I'm foot guard. So I'm supposed to patrol the shopping center on foot, right? Every hour. And then in the logbook, every hour I write secured. And I write down if there's anything out of place or if anything took place, right? That's what my duty is. Vehicle patrol's duty, because they have the vehicle, is to drive around and do a tour around the shopping center, but it's a wider area, that they cover than I do, because they're in a vehicle, and they actually hit scan points with the phone. I don't hit scan points. Also, a part of their duty is to put flags up at the end of the night, so around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and they have to unlock the main post office area, the mini mall is what they call it, at 5 o'clock, and they have to go to the back of the shopping center, and they have to unlock the storage gate. I've never had an issue doing that. When they gave me vehicle patrol, everything was done on time. I love vehicle patrol. This is what's getting me so upset. You're now punishing me for something that you gave the responsibility to another coworker to do. I'm trying not to be, it's so upsetting, because I've been very vocal about the fact that I love vehicle patrol. You gave it to somebody else who doesn't necessarily want it. You know, I help him out because he's really tired. He works 2 jobs. I think he would rather foot patrol. I think he would. You're giving it to somebody that's working 2 jobs, that's really tired, that doesn't really want it. They now did this one morning, it seems, didn't open the gate or didn't put up the flags, whatever took place. And then you're punishing me for it, who's been begging for vehicle patrol. And every time I do vehicle patrol, I make sure everything's done on time. You understand why I'm having an issue here? But then it's like, me saying this, I can get in problems for saying this because I'm targeted. Even if what I'm saying is correct, I can get in problems because I'm the target. Do you understand where I'm livid about the thing, but I'm trying not to be? But it's just the timing of when it took place too. I don't even know. I don't want to say lie like that, because it's just like sometimes these things will happen if they feel like you're a bad person or whatever, and they want to punish you and they make up these scenarios that aren't true. And I don't want to say that that's the case, that they made it up. I don't want to do that and accuse and be accusatory. But I don't know if this coworker really didn't put up the flags and didn't open the back gate, and then they're now punishing me because they don't like me, or if not, that never happened in the first place and they're making it up as an excuse to punish me because I made this video talking about the serial killer thing and the ALS thing that they kept sending me and doing ref campaign about. I'm not sure which one it is. But it was literally after I made this video, the day after, they called me into the office. And when I went into the office, they're telling me that they're calling me in there because my coworker, who was supposed to put the flags up and open the back gate, didn't do it. So I said, well, why am I being called in here? I said, that's not my responsibility. I'm foot patrol. They're telling me that there's a supervisor that told me that morning that I was supposed to open the back gate and I was supposed to put the flags up. But I was never given the key, right? It never happened. They're watching me on camera. They know it didn't happen because everybody's watching me on camera. So they know it didn't happen. But not just that. Why didn't the coworker give me the key for the car then? He has the key for the mini mall. He has the key for the storage. He has the flags in the vehicle. Why didn't he give me the vehicle? He didn't give me the vehicle that morning. That morning I was sitting in the main area and I was making this video about the ALS and the serial killer thing. So that's what's making me feel like it didn't happen in the first place and maybe it's just punishment for the video. But I don't know for sure if that's the case or if this coworker really was just so tired he didn't get a chance to do it, and because they don't like me and I made that video, they're like, okay, let's pin it on her. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know. But I'm in a state where I don't really have rights and I'm target. So it's very scary for me. So anyways, I'm just like, the last time they called me in, this was about 2 weeks ago. You can see when I made the video 2 weeks ago. They called me in and they had that conversation with me about what took place with that coworker where he didn't. Yes? All right, y'all, I'm going to wrap up the video. I'm actually glad that interruption happened because it's really going too long. I didn't want it to be such a long video. It's just so much info to cover and so many things that's taken place over how it is being targeted. It's 24/7 something happening, and then you're just getting retribution for, your response or reaction. Excuse me. But anyways, the video's way too long, so let me try to wrap it up now. I'm going to try to wrap it up now. But it's been a few months of stuff that led up to what took place today, and so I just felt like I needed to let y'all know, including reminding you what took place in the last meeting, right? I talked about it in the scary gang stalking experience documentation video. That's where I talked about what happened, right? After I made the part 2 targeted individual video. With the scary gang stalking experience video, I documented that last meeting I had with them. And, when they called me in after I had made that video about the ALS and the serial killer thing. And I was just sharing demographics and stuff. And then, kind of what took place now, where 2 weeks later, I'm called in again now after sending that text last Friday. And then yesterday, I started making the video about the gym, not saying anything bad. I'm called into the office today. And, like I said, when I went in, the general manager wasn't available. The secretary told me he had went in a meeting and he was in the meeting still. And so after a while of sitting there, my brain ticking, I was like, hey, do you know what time it's going to be done? Because I have a ride waiting outside for me. So she called me to the back office and she starts telling me basically what they're calling me in for. And she's telling me they're calling me in for the same matter that they called me in for 2 weeks ago, where the flags and the back gate wasn't opened. And she's telling me that there's this supervisor that claims that they told me to open the back gate and put the flags up because my coworker, you're not even telling me anything. They're not even telling me why I was given that directive. So I'm saying to her, well, that never happened. I said, why would I be given that directive? I said, I don't even have the key to open the back gate. I said, I didn't even have the vehicle that has the flags in it. And when I said that to them in the last meeting, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I said, well, I don't understand why so-and-so wouldn't have done it. He's usually on task. He usually does what he's supposed to do. This is what they were saying. And so then they made this new directive that now the foot guard has to, at 5 a.m. in the morning, go into the vehicle with the vehicle patrol guard, help them put the flags up, and then go to the back and open the gate, watch them open the gate. I just feel like, just give me vehicle patrol. I wouldn't need somebody to come with me. I'll just do it myself because I like doing vehicle patrol anyways, and everything will get done. That's how I feel. Because that's made things even more awkward for me too. Because I'm targeted and my thoughts are being projected. And when I'm near people, my brain ticks. It's such a nightmare. And when I'm sitting in the vehicle with them, I'm sitting there trying to get my brain not to tick. So it's just making work even more unpleasant for me, really, is what it's doing. But I'm like, okay, I'll do it because I want my job. So this is another new thing now we have to do. I'm just like, why not just give me vehicle patrol? I've been saying for the longest I love vehicle patrol. You've never had an issue with me not putting up flags. You've never had an issue with me not opening the gate. And I don't even want to say that, and then that's not even really what happened. Because I don't know if that even is a thing, or if they were just saying that because I made that video. Because it happened right after I made the video. So I don't even know if that's something that really happened with his coworker. Because as far as I know, he's been with the company for a long time and he's consistent. He does what he's supposed to do. But also, too, I'm aware of the fact that he works 2 jobs and he's very tired. To the point where I'm driven for him sometimes. I don't mind. Like I told you all, I've talked about this coworker in prior videos. Him and I have like this symbiotic relation going where it's a benefit for me to drive because it helps me stay up and actually like doing it. And he's tired. So he can now do foot patrol instead, which is a little less invasive. For me, I don't like that. I don't like the sitting stagnant, only walking every hour. I like being in vehicle patrol and having to do a tour and get out and hit scan points and then put the flags up at the end of the night. I like that. You could give me that and I won't need somebody to come with me and, all this extra stuff that's being done. You could just give me vehicle patrol is how I feel. And then now I'm being punished because you didn't give me vehicle patrol and the person you gave it to didn't do whatever. And now the supervisor's saying they gave me a directive that didn't happen. This is why I'm like, what the heck? That's how I'm feeling. I'm trying not to feel that way. I'm already in this kind of weird, vicarious kind of position where I can't say too much. Like, I'm already like, it's just like, I just can't believe it. So anyway, in the last meeting, I already advocated for myself. I said that doesn't make sense for her to have given me that directive and I wasn't even given the car or the key. And so they agree with me. They said, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right, because he has the key for the gate, right? And I said, well, I don't know why he wouldn't do what he's supposed to do. He normally does what he's supposed to do. And I was just going along with them, right? I said, yep, you're right. He does do what he's supposed to do. So I said, I don't know what's going on. I said, but no supervisor gave me a directive, and I left it at that. Now they call me in 2 weeks later, and they're saying that now I'm getting written up for that. They're telling me that basically that's what they're calling me in for. The reason that the 3 days was taken off of my schedule was because I got suspended for that, because the supervisor is saying that she gave me the directive and I didn't do it. And I said, but that's her word against mine. I said, which supervisor? So the secretary wasn't telling me which supervisor. She said she's not really responsible for that. It's the general manager. And so tomorrow I'm going to have the meeting with him and the supervisor that said it. And all this other stuff like that. I'm like, please let me know who the supervisor is, because there's no supervisor that gave me that directive. And if I were given that directive, I would have darn sure done it because I love vehicle patrol. And why wasn't I given the vehicle? If I was given that directive, why wasn't I given the vehicle that morning? That doesn't make sense. When the vehicle has the flags and the key for the back gate, it's not even making sense. And so this is why I'm like, who is it? I said, can we sit and have the meeting now? Now I'm not wanting to leave the office. And so she said, well, come in tomorrow. What time can you come? I said, 1:00, So I'm supposed to go in tomorrow and have this meeting. I'm like, what the heck? I can't believe they're saying they're suspending me for that. I'm being told that they might even take another day off my schedule next week as part of the suspension. And then I might be moved from the post I'm at. Now, I don't mind that, to be quite real with you. I don't mind if they move me to another post where it's just me at the post. I actually like posts like that where it's just me. Like when I worked for the company in the past and I had a vehicle, they had me at this, it's like this agriculture ground where they had me at. That was my favorite post thus far since working for the company. No gang stalkers can be there. I mean, if they do have gang stalkers, the gang stalkers are going to have to hide. They're not going to be able to be brazen and bold like how they are in the shopping center, because the shopping center is a public space. And in these places like the schools, if they put me at a school where it's gated, or if they put me at agriculture, I'm sure they'll have gang stalkers on the premises, but they're not going to be able to be as brazen about it because technically they're not supposed to be there. So it's not going to be like in a shopping center where they're sitting on top of me and doing all this overt stuff. So I actually would not mind them moving me. They can move me to like a school in the gate or something. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind. But don't say it's because of a suspension for something I didn't do and taking days off my schedule. If she had told me that she took the days off because of the text I sent, which is what I thought was the reason, then I'd be like, okay, I totally get it, because I messed up. And I shouldn't have sent that text, my dumb ass. I messed up. If she said that, I would be okay with it. But it's the fact that I'm being told that it's for what it's for. I'm just like, what? Anyway, so that's what's going on, man. That's it, y'all. That's all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to talk about what took place, man. That's what happened today, and I'm supposed to go in tomorrow and have this meeting with the supervisor that's claiming she told me to put the flags up and stuff. So I'm going to see what happens tomorrow. And that's it, y'all. I'm just keeping y'all up to date with what's going on. It's a lot of crazy stuff happening. I'm not really sure what's taking place. I think a lot of it has to do with the videos I make, and these are just reactions and me advocating for myself. I think I'm getting retribution for that, and then stupidly on top of things, I have moments where I've nodded off, and I'm not a regular person. I can't have those moments. And so that's what's going on. Anyways, I'll keep y'all up to date with what's going on. I'll let y'all know what happens tomorrow. Peace out. Y'all, another thing I wanted to add in was, first of all, let me make sure it's just charging. This is not gonna be a long add-in. I just wanted to say another thing too. Since I've started for the company last month, I've only called out once. Since I've started for them, not last month, what stupidness am I saying? Last year, November. For all these months I've been working, I have only called out one time. I don't call out of work. And I even went there with COVID. And I worked with COVID. Actually, the first night that I nodded off on the job, this was around the time when I actually started feeling like, okay, it's okay if it happens sometimes. The first time I actually nodded off on the job was when I went to work the night I had COVID. So I have never called out from this job since I started. Only one time. Called out one time. And it was the time I got in a fight with someone in my close circle, and I was literally locked out of the house. And I couldn't get into the house, and she had driven off. I called off that one night. I have not called off from work. That's the other thing I wanted to add in. All right, though. I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace out. Oh, there was... I'm worried about adding this in, because this is why I said it'd be like I'm throwing this coworker under the bus. This is why I'm worried to add this in. I'm worried to add this part, and I was going to add it in. And I'm debating with myself on should I add it in or not. Because they're going on like, this person is such a good worker. Like, I know he wouldn't... And he is. I'm not saying he's not. He is a good worker. He's been with them for years. But he works 2 jobs, and he's tired, and he's human just like all of us. He has nodded off before. I've never ratted on him, right? I don't know if anybody's ratted on me. I've never ratted on him, even in that last meeting when they're saying, well, he would never, he's a good worker. He would never this and that. I didn't say anything. I have actually seen this coworker nodded off before. He's been really good about not doing it recently because they cracked down on us. I have seen him nodded off before. I told you I'm an honest person. I'm not a liar. If I were going to be a liar, I would have said that guy that was telling me all that stupidness, that ratted on me, right, and called the supervisor on me because he didn't want me in the office. I would have said I've seen him sleeping. I've never seen him sleeping. But this coworker I work with on the weekends that's tired, I told you I even drive for him sometimes because he's tired and he's working 2 jobs, and I know what that feels like. Because before I left Island, I was teaching and I was doing this job, and it was hard. So I know what it feels like to be tired. But I have seen him nodded off before. There was a time when the supervisor actually came. Everybody that watches and revs by saw because they were revving by when it happened. When the supervisor came, and it was a night he was sleeping, right? He had nodded off. I think he nodded off. I don't, know exactly the particular. I think he nodded off. The supervisor came and had to talk to him about not hitting the scan points, right? And so he was thinking that I ratted on him. And so I documented this in a prior video, y'all, where he thought I was the one that ratted on him. And I guess he later found out that that wasn't the case. But he thought I had ratted on him. Because the supervisor came and I guess, started talking to him about not hitting the scan points because the command center, which is located in Puerto Rico, called her and told her the scan points weren't being hit. And so then that's when, he came to me. He said, did she come? Did you talk to her? Did you know she was coming? I said, no, I had no clue she was coming. And then he told me, he was telling me, she's saying that the command center called him first and then her. But he's saying, but I don't see any calls. And so I looked in the call log and I showed him that there was 2 missed calls from the command center. So they had tried to call him, but he didn't see the call. So that did happen with that coworker. So he has fallen short before. Again, it's not a consistent thing with him, but it has happened. So this could have been a night where he was very tired. It could have happened if they're not making it up because I made that video. This could have been a night when he was really tired and that's what happened. But don't punish me for something that I didn't do. That's all I'm saying. And then there was another night. It's only been 2 nights where I've seen him fall short, and I've been working with him for months. So he is consistent. And if it's a night where he's really tired, he'll ask me to drive for him. That's what he'll do, right? There's only been 2 nights where I've seen him fall short. It was that night when the supervisor, Miss S, pulled up, and she knows what I'm talking about. And then the second night was this night. It was, I want to say maybe like 2 months ago, where he didn't unlock the barbershop on time. You're supposed to unlock it at 5 o'clock. And they came knocking. This was when I was still sitting in the office before I was given the directive to sit outside all night. And the guys for the barbershop came knocking on the office door. And I opened the office door and he had an attitude with me. And he said, the office, the so-and-so isn't open right now. And I said, really? I said, what time is it? I look, it says 5 o'clock. And I said, okay, well, my coworker is supposed to unlock it. And he said, okay, well, can you get him? He kind of had an attitude. He was snappy. And so when I came out, I told him, look, I don't have the number. At this time, I didn't have his number yet. I do now have that coworker's number. I said, I don't have his number, but I can go in my personal vehicle and try to find him. And he said, thank you, please do, because I have an appointment. So there's been 2 times where he was supposed to unlock something or hit a scam point, and it didn't happen because he was exhausted. He works 2 jobs. It's happened twice. I didn't rat. I'm not a rat. I didn't make a video about it. I did make a video about the thing with the supervisor where he wasn't hitting the scam points. And the only reason I made a video about that was because afterward, the conversation him and I had, it seemed like he was hinting that I had ratted on him. He started talking about rats and this and that. You know, and then later down the line, he realized I hadn't ratted on him. So that's the only reason I made a video about that. Or else I would have never made a video about it. Even though all these people are driving by and seeing what happened anyways. But the other thing with the barbershop, I didn't make a video about it. I didn't talk about it, right? But now I'm talking about those 2 incidents because there are 2 times where something wasn't unlocked or scam points weren't hit because this coworker was exhausted. So it's not like it's this impossible thing like what they were trying to say in the meeting last time. If it even happened, again, I'm not even sure if it even happened or if this is, again, just something they're saying, you know, because I made that video. Because it was literally the morning after I made that video at work that they asked me to come in. So if that's the case and I'm now saying all this stuff about him and it's not even real, they're making it up, then now I feel bad. But I'm just advocating for myself. I'm just advocating for myself. Anyways, talk to you on the next one. Peace out.